反正就代表中国最强的实力去参加这次最后的比赛吧。
Today's OMG is much stronger than those days we beat them.
我觉得他们强的原因是他们中路的操作是没话讲的。
Beautiful all the way back to the turret. Baker with a beautiful play.
롤드컵 나오면서 결승전까지 꼭 가자 하는 마음가짐을 왔거든요. 그래서 지금 5분의 2 확률을 뚫은 거잖아요. 4강 진출하도록 하겠습니다.
The road to the biggest event in esports begins right here.
Season 3 World Championship live from Los Angeles, California. I'm your host, Efju Shokusaportre, and tonight SK Telecom T1, OMG, Royal Club, and the Gamania Bears take to the Rift in a battle for the last 2 semi-final spots. But before we get to the matches, let's send it around the League of Legends studio and check in with all the casters that will be bringing you tonight's quarterfinal action, starting with Trevor and Freak over at the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Sharks. I am Trevor Quickshot Henry, and this is, of course, David Freak Turley. Besides headbanging during the commercial breaks, we'll be calling tonight's first quarterfinal matchup, Taiwan's Gamania Bears versus SK Telecom T1 and their MVP mid laner, Faker.
And I'm excited to get our first look at these Taiwanese champions here at Worlds and just see how they stack up against an SK Telecom team that, well, they kind of destroyed OMG in the last group stage game. And honestly, I'm so excited, I can barely wait.
With that, let's send it over to D-Man, who's kicking back up in the interview lounge.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. I am, of course, D-Man Smith, and tonight I'll be sitting down with some of the LCS pros to get their take on the World Championship so far. But for now, let's keep this trip around the studio rolling and send it over to Riv and the guys at the analysis desk.
Thank you very much, D-Man. I'm Rivington Bills in the third, and locking down the analyst desk with me is Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler. Plus, grouping up with us in our 5-man push through the 2 quarterfinal matches is OG and Caster Monte Cristo, Evil Geniuses Crepo, and Counter Logic Gaming's Double Lift. But before we insta-lock our predictions for tonight's series, we need to get our flux capacitors up to speed and head back to Monday's games for another look at our first 2 semi-final qualifying teams.
In the first game of the Season 3 World Championship quarterfinals, the #1 seed from Europe and the top team from North America faced off in an all-out brawl.
Pushu gets focused on, he has to get away. He's actually tanking up the dragon. Soaz hasn't used that ultimate yet. He's going to lock down Lemonation. Lemonation with no mana at all, but look at this.
Can you flash?
Yeah, oh nice.
Oh, get him.
Chase on through, he may be the death of him. Yes, he will. Soaz in the meantime, he comes around. He is going to get one down, but look at that. Sneaky once again gets the kill this time on Peke. Soaz though comes in. He takes down high in the mid. Lemonation getting taken low, gets dunked on by Cyanide. Yellowstar off the back.
I can arrow. You have an arrow? I'm arrowing Yellowstar.
Yes. Goes down, it's a 2-for-2. The arrow on towards Yellowstar. He's so low on hit points, he's going to get locked up. It will be another. It's a double kill for Balls. Cyanide now, he's in trouble. He's not going to be able to escape this one, surely. The slow arrow from Sneaky does catch him down. Hawkshot's going to give his vision away, balls.
Nope.
He's ready and waiting to chase, but it's not going to be. It's a 3 for 3.
Wow.
What a fight.
These fights
Dragon
are
didn't even go down.
absolute chaos. Fnatic's unpredictable rotations would catch Cloud9 by surprise.
Balls getting locked up. Stranglethorns comes out. He's already used that Shadow Dash. Meteor's doing what he can, but he may get locked up as well. The whole of Cloud Fnatic going along towards him. He does get away. So is just going to follow him through.
And that is the legendary Fnatic rotations that we talk about.
And Fnatic's ace would secure them the win in Game 1.
Peke picks up one. Peke going to close in towards Lemonation. He's going to be the next focus target. There it is. The Riftwalk Force Pulse straight on towards High. Going to be next. Sneaky goes down off the side. Peke's going to roam in. There's the triple kill. And it's Fnatic cleanup duty. That's an ace. They have struck first blood on North America's Cloud9.
Fnatic were one win away from a trip to the semi-finals.
But it is going to be High going aggressive. Urgent Strike is available on Peke. You can see he's already used the Ignite. It's going to take him very low. High should get this one. First blood for High.
That is exactly what Cloud9 needs in this game.
Cloud9 were able to turn the series on its head to force a third and deciding game.
Whoa! But they've gone a little deep. What a fantastic kill there, though. Straight away, push you down. That's a massive damage dealer for Fnatic. They've got to back out of this fight. And you can see High, he wants to go in. Urgent Strike on towards Cyno. He's going to go down the dot, ticking away. But there's nothing Fnatic can do. We're going to Game 3, ladies and gentlemen. North America strikes back.
Game 3 started with disaster for Cloud9, and North America's last hope was dashed before minions even hit lane.
Fnatic catches him in the brush.
The catch on towards Sneaky. He's going down. He's going to get dropped. First blood comes out. They may get a second as well. Lemonation's going to be the focus target. He gets locked up. Yellow Star goes in, and Cyanide gets a double kill.
That is immensely huge for Fnatic.
Fnatic would snowball that advantage, and Xpeke cleaned up once again to send Fnatic into the next round.
But it is going to be another triple for Peke. Here comes the Quadra. They're going to give it to him. Yes, they are. It is Peke dominating 11-0-7. Fnatic are going to go through to the semi-finals, taking down the North American champions, Cloud9.
In the second match of the day, Gambit Gaming were looking to be the second European team to advance to the semi-finals. They faced off against Korean Najin Black Sword. Gambit stood united behind Darian Shen.
They see Shen to start to come in. Nagane gets hit up. There's the attack. They pull it around.
Oh no, Genja's gonna eat it.
Prey walks right on a Genja, but there's the Stand United coming in. The taunt to come out, and that is a dead Prey. Buff transfer to Genja secured.
It was a back and forth game, but Gambit's dive would swing the game back in their favor to give them the win and a 1-0 lead in the best of 3 series.
It's like, yes, everyone build magic.
Oh, wow.
Defense.
Oh, look at it. Nagane gets taken down instantly. They didn't see that one coming. This is a choose-your-own-adventure
Prey
for
still
Gambit.
up,
They are still going on to the next chapter. Prey goes down to the back line, or gets the takedown onto Alex Yish, I should say, using Flash.
Oh,
using Flash. The second piercing arrow from Genja, spot on. Takes the apple off the head. Gambit with a definitive win after an amazing 50-50 game for the first 20 minutes.
Najin Black Sword turned things around in Game 2 by getting Prey's Twitch fed early.
Mount Zona, some of that low HP. The expunges there. They get the first blood down onto Voidal.
And this game was never in doubt, as Najin's Sword would secure the win to even the series at 1 game apiece.
Prey again, right next to everyone.
Just, whoa, he gets hit in the face with the unstoppable force, but he's brought back into the fight by Kane. A great move there. He actually picks up a kill off of it as well. Amazing coordination in the team.
Congratulations, Magic Sword.
That's all she wrote for Game 2, ladies and gentlemen. We take it to a Game 3. Najin Sword turning it up a notch here in Game 2 to bring it to 1-1 in the best of 3 series.
In the final game of the set, Sword got kick-started by their bot lane.
Combo from Kane!
On to Voidal, the Ignite is down. There goes the Valkyrie. God. The 1, the 2, the uppercut coming in.
Another play!
Kane grabs first blood a second time in a row. Genja wants to answer, but it's just on the edge. That's the way the cookie crumbles. The flash comes in. The Valkyrie was down. The Acathian surprise. It's not enough to take him down.
All right, bottom lane outplay once again. Kane is just destroying Gambit.
An ace for Najin Sword would all but secure the win.
All of Najin is combining themselves on each other right now. Very hard to click into the damage. They now focus on Darian. Okay!
오케이, 나 잡았어. 형이다. 플래시 있는데.
오케이, 에이스. 나 탑 올라간다.
And Najin's patient poke-comp allowed them to push to victory, earning their ticket into the semi-finals.
Gold lead from downtown. The spear coming up big, going on to Voidal. This could be a final push here.
Congratulations to Najin Sword. Well-deserved win right there.
And with half of the quarterfinals in our rearview mirror, let's take a look at the updated tournament bracket as it stands now. After cruising through the group stage, blowing away Cloud9, and earning a spot in the semifinals, Fnatic has guaranteed themselves at least a top 4 finish here at Worlds.
While in our second match, Najin Black Sword shook off a Game 1 loss to get past Gambit and earn the second spot in the semifinals.
And remember, if you want to watch Fnatic, Najin Black Sword, and tonight's 2 winners throw down at the Galen Center, there are still a few tickets available.
Head over to lolesports.com/tickets to secure your seats to watch the 4 best teams in the world compete for their spot at the Summoners Cup.
All right, gentlemen, it's your time again to drop some knowledge. What were your thoughts on yesterday's 2 quarterfinal matches? Crepo, we're going to start off with you. What were you feeling about yesterday now that you've had some time to sleep on it?
I was just really impressed with Fnatic. The way they came out to play, like really prepared. They got their Kassadin through. I have no idea how. Their rotations were really amazing. The way they hide in brushes even between lanes, and people, they basically force people to keep falling for it, and just really well played by them.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Cloud9 actually kept up in laning phase. If you had asked me after groups who would win in lane between Fnatic and Cloud9, I would definitely have said, you know, Fnatic all the way. But even high even first-blooded, expect a 1v1 mid in the second game, and I just expect them to lose really hard. And I'm also really surprised that Sword seems so uncoordinated. Their team comps were kind of weird, to me at least, and they play the game really slow even when they're ahead, which is really uncharacteristic of Korean teams.
That was the big surprise to me as well, and we knew that Sword a month or so ago wasn't looking so hot, even though they have all of this talent on paper. This is a great patch for them. We saw those Jax bans coming out against Expression because he's such an interesting top laner carry.
Right.
But they still haven't fixed their problems, which were a bad pick and ban phase, and that pick and ban phase sunk them in Champions Summer. The Syndra-Draven combo is an absolute horror in that tournament, I think. That's why Prey yesterday was trolling a little bit, mousing over the Draven, because it's kind of become a joke in Korea about how bad he is at playing that champion. But the issues, they're still there. They're not aggressive enough. They're not decisive enough. They lack that crisp shot calling.
Right.
I mean, even though these guys are talking about how their pick and bans were kind of lacking, their team synergy was kind of lacking, they still had some very, very strong individual play. What impressed me most was that bottom lane. Kayn and Prey almost just single-handedly won them that series.
Well, gentlemen, tonight we'll be finding out which teams will be joining Fnatic and Najin Black Sword in the semifinals. So let's take a look at our first match of the day. The Taiwanese champs, Gamania Bears versus Korea's SK Telecom T1. What are your thoughts going into this best-of-3 series? Doublelift, take it away.
Well, I think Gamania Bears needs to play the best games of their life if they want to beat SKT. And the reason is SKT has been getting better and better every game I watch them. As they entered groups and they lost to OMG, I was like, wow, SKT doesn't know what to do against these early game stuff. They don't seem that crisp and clean. Now I see them, they're just a machine. Their last game against OMG, they took an inhibitor at like 13 minutes. So they're just getting better and better.
I completely agree. At this point, I need a very compelling reason to choose anyone against SKT, and we haven't even seen Gamma play under the pressure here at Worlds yet.
Well, it's also just looking at the Gamania Bears record. I mean, yes, they had a spectacular run to make it through the Taiwanese qualifiers, but if we actually look at the Taiwan Esports League where they were playing, they were 12-13 in that league. And yes, they beat a lot of those teams to get here, but they're a young team. They're pretty new with their current roster, and we haven't just seen that consistency. And you look at SK Telecom, the pinnacle of consistency. They've only ever lost a best-of-series to Ozone.
Right.
There's not much more left to say. Mona said it all pretty much.
Yeah.
If you struggle to get out of the groups and just barely make it here, no pun intended, then you have to play against SKT1. Well, I wouldn't be happy if I draw that card.
All right, well, now I'm going to ask you to predict the winner of the first quarterfinal series here in just a moment. Right now, let's take a look at the leaderboard and see how everything is added up. Thanks to yesterday's 2-0 record, Monte Cristo has taken over the top of the analyst desk standing so far, while the casters, Crepo, and the viewers are 1 game back. And finally, there's the man who changes his mind almost as much as he changes supports, Doublelift.
Dude, that's not even fair. That's not even fair. I believed in America. I watched the American Dream die on game 2. I was
and then
like,
you hopped off the train right before
because
it crashed.
I thought like,
it's all right. If we turn the analyst desk into a show, I'll give you an entire episode to talk about it. I promise. So, guys, just so you know, you're probably going to get into a little flack tonight if you don't make the right choices. So better get your choices right. It's time to put your analytical abilities to work and tell me who you think is going to be winning the first quarterfinal matchup here. Gamania Bears versus SK Telecom T1. Remember, gentlemen, the quarterfinals, each correct guess is worth 2 points, and each fail count as 2 losses. So, Kobe, let's start with you. since you have the courage to stick with your picks more than not.
All right, well, for all the reasons that we just listed earlier, I'm going to have to pick SKT, their individual players. I mean, they have Faker, and Gamma really have to prove themselves against them.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to be picking SK Telecom T1 as well. Again, we've talked about it. They're just that very consistent team. And I talked with their coach again before the match today. I said, how are you feeling about the Gamma Bears? And he said, we're just going to play solid. They're not cocky at all. They just want to play as methodically as possible, get the win, move on to the semis.
All right.
It'll be SKT. I don't have much hopes for the Bears.
Alrighty, Double Lift.
Yep, I'm with SKT as well. Even if Faker has a bad game, as you see, he can give first blood and he'll still win the game because his team is just so good.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Everybody, here's your chance to let us know whether you agree or disagree with our casters' picks.
All you have to do is head over to lolesports.com, click on Schedule, select the quarterfinals, and hit the thumbs up under the team that you think is going to win.
Then, when you're done making your picks, head over to Twitter and let us know what has been your favorite moment from the quarterfinals so far and why.
Can hit us up at LOL Esports and be sure to use the hashtag Worlds. If you want a chance at winning a Logitech G602S gaming mouse.
I'd want one, but we can't win.
No.
I'm still going to try to tweet. Crepo did. He got one on. All right, we got to take a quick break, but when we return, the Gamma Bears and SK Telecom T1 take to the Rift for our first game of the day. But right now, we take a closer look at the Bears, a team that went from unknown to underdog to champions of Taiwan in less than a year.
就是觉得我们一开始本来就对自己很有自信，可是又想到对方是 TBS 就很难打。
今天晚上就是刚上台比赛的时候，看到小巨蛋下面那么多人，就觉得有点紧张。
其实不太会紧张，因为自己本身喜欢在大家面前表演这样吧。
就是最后我抢到8王的时候，抢到8王，并且把对方 A 起，然后时间秒出口的时候，我们就已经知道我们要。
Rocking down, Zonda pops an ultimate. Oh, and the Bears still coming in for win.
对，可是等到真的珠宝爆掉那一瞬间，我们才真的就是恍惚。对，是珠宝那瞬间，我们才确定我们真的赢了。
We have your champions, Gamania Bears. They are going to the World Finals.
当我们赢下来这场就是 S3资格赛的时候，就是觉得很开心，能够就是跟队伍证明自己的实力。对，
其实老实讲，就是另外一队的粉丝人数远远高过我们这队，然后我们可能拿到冠军的时候，呼声还没有他们一个击杀还高，就是真的这样拿到冠军真的是蛮开心的。
今天比赛完就真的蛮想哭的有一次看到队友们就是都有在掉泪，都觉得很感动。
平常不会，只是因为今天真的太开心了。对，因为
我们就是可能会是被看好的队伍，然后尽量就是研究下一场对手的战术之类的，来确保胜利。
去LA 一定非常的开心啊！然后，这次我们是没有奖杯，只有 GPL 有奖杯，所以我打算去 LA 拿一个奖杯回来。
其实我以前对于 LA 就是比较偏篮球啊，就 NBA 啊，就是什么洛杉矶湖人，因为以前很喜欢洛杉矶湖人这个队伍。然后当听说今年的那个 LL 比赛主场是放在那个洛杉矶湖人篮球场，我就觉得哇，好兴奋！以前只看到那个场地，没想到今天是真的人到那边。
我觉得应该会比这次小巨蛋厉害很多很多。
去年看 TBA 就是表现的，就是在世界舞台表现的那么好，所以我们今年也要跟他们一样。
之前在去年的时候是看了那个 TPA， 就是 S2 台湾代表队去打那个世界冠军赛，就是在家里的时候看的时候觉得非常兴奋，没有想到就是今年的话会换成自己去打，对，然后也是希望能够帮台湾拿下第2个冠军。
我们一定会。
Welcome back to the Season 3 World Championship, coming to you live from the League of Legends studio here in Los Angeles, California. It is time for tonight's first quarterfinal best-of-3 series between Taiwan champions the Gamma Bears and Korea's SK Telecom T1. Right now, though, let's send it over to Shox on the main stage for the introduction of tonight's starting lineups.
Thank you very much, Trevor. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to meet the teams for tonight's first quarterfinal best-of-3 series between the Gamma Bears and SK Telecom T1. Starting on the blue side for Game 1, it's the Gamma Bears. Let's meet the team.
Starting in the top lane, Stay. In the jungle, Wind. In mid, Maples. At AD carry, NL. And at support, SwordArt. They are the Gamma Bears.
And starting on the red side for Game 1, it's SK Telecom T1. Here's tonight's starting lineup.
Starting in the top lane, Impact. In the jungle, Bengi. In mid lane, Faker. At AD carry, Piglet. And at support, PoohManDu. They are SK Telecom T1.
Please give it up one more time for tonight's competitors, the Gamma Bears and SK Telecom T1. Gentlemen, please take your positions. Good luck and have fun. Now let's send it back over to Freak and quick shot at the caster desk for Game 1.
Thank you very much, Shox. And now that we've met the players, let's talk a little bit about the team, starting with the Gamma Bears, because frankly, not too much is actually known about these guys. Just like last year's world champion, the Taipei Assassins, the Bears are coming into this tournament flying very much under the radar.
Yeah, the Gamma Bears are really one of the youngest Cubs in this tournament, but don't let that fool you. They're actually a very, very aggressive team that's already beat some of the best teams in the world at the Taiwanese regionals. They only lost one game in the group stage there, and even though they got dropped to the lower bracket, they stepped up and beat Mistake and his Taipei Snipers in the grand finals. A lot of this was due to their AD carry NL. The man put up incredible numbers in that tournament. He farms a lot during the game, has high CS numbers, and though he normally plays safe, sometimes jumps in there and makes flashy plays.
Yeah, during the regionals, he really played a lot of Caitlyn and Varus, and we'll have to see if he sticks with what he knows, or if he's going to be expanding his champion pool as the Gamma Bears make their World Championship debut against one of the pre-tournament favorites to win the entire Season 3 title, SK Telecom T1.
Yeah, SKT started out the group stage a little bit shaky, but they got better with every single game. And they ended Week 1 of Worlds by crushing the previously undefeated OMG with like a 12.5-minute inhibitor kill, landing like every single skill shot in that push.
Yeah, it was really scary. Speaking of skills, SKT's near mythical mid laner Faker proved once again why he has the world's respect and recognition as one of the best players on the planet, one of, if not the strongest mid laner.
Exactly. OMG's cool called Faker the unkillable Demon King after facing him, and it wasn't just his stats, which aren't even the best on his team, but it's the plays that Faker made. He beats almost everyone in duels in lane, and his play creates huge openings for SKT. Though, even though he's that core playmaker, the rest of the team is actually very, very skilled, and that complete package is what's so scary for teams to face.
Yeah, coming into this match, SKT has been scarily good at the Season 3 Championship so far, and while the Gamma Bears know that this matchup will be the most challenging of their careers, if they can pull out the win, they'll instantly become a favorite at Worlds.
其实一开始我之前都有在看欧圈，就韩国他们的球员赛。那时候我在发现，我都觉得其实 SKT T1 真是一队很可怕的对手。
SKT 会这么强，是因为他们的中路玩家是现在世界上最强的 AP 嘛 ，Faker。
일단 8강에 올라온 팀들은 저희보다 준비를 더 많이 했을 거기 때문에 모든 팀이 다 무서웠고요.
일단 그 감마웨어스의 키플레이어가 정글이랑 탑이라고 하는데 저희 정글 탑이 좀 잘해주면 게임을 쉽게 풀어내는 것 같아요.
感觉一开始就直接挑战魔王那种感觉。
그러니까 이번에 저희 목표는 결승이니까 가뿐하게 8강 넘겨서 4강 진출하도록 하겠습니다.
而且 碰上 SKT T1，我觉得如果我们赢下这场的话，我们很有把握可以拿下世界冠军。
I'm definitely looking forward to this matchup because of that surprise factor that the Gamma Bears has.
Yeah.
We noticed that the Korean teams, they trended towards starting off slowly. All of the teams that we've seen so far have not done particularly well in their first couple of games. And if the Gamma Bears can exploit that, they might be able to get an early advantage against SKT.
There's definitely a chance here, and it's going to be interesting watching just how much these teams have gotten to research, just because even if you try to look at the games that Gamma Bears have been playing, most of that regional was actually a couple patches back where Ryze and Jace were really huge champions, and so there's even less research you get to put on these guys, whereas, of course, if we've seen 8 group stage games, a lot to look at. And the one thing I actually want to point out here is going to be Zed, because so far we've never seen Maple play that champion. Even when they're blue side, they'll ban it out. Faker's never been allowed to play Zed all tournament. It's been a perennial ban the entire time, and I want to see if it's the Bears who have to ban it themselves.
Well, we'll have to see how this plays out for them. We know there are a couple of contested picks here, and both of these top laners like to run Shen. Now both of the mid laners like their Ahri and their Orianna and Fizz. We see the bans. Gamma Bears have taken out Corki, Aatrox, and Zed, as you've already highlighted. On that blue side, it's something they don't want to play against at all.
But what he does have open is his Ahri, which is a pretty important one for him. Maple does a very good job on Ahri, making a bunch of plays throughout the mid lane. And I also have to respect SKT banning away Thresh, because SwordArt is scary good. Now, his Sona is great as well. He really doesn't miss his flash crescendos, and that's really powerful, but you give him Thresh, he's going to land all those hooks as well.
Well, we'll see how it pans out for them. Thresh was that third and final ban from SKT. The very first lock-in is going to be that Elise. So not only are they locking that in for themselves, they're denying it from Bengi. If you remember how SKT demolished OMG in the last group stage game, quite a bit of that was the cocoons and the charms from Bengi and from Faker.
And of course, the Ahri is still available as well, which is a bit of a scary thing here. You've got to kind of be afraid of that one. Of course, the Varus, not a surprising pick here at all for NL. He played basically Caitlyn and Varus the entire time in the last couple of months. So with the Caitlyn being stolen away there, I actually have to respect the early pick there from SKT. It kind of guarantees the other side. The Zyra being taken away is actually PoohManDu's most played support here at Worlds, who's going to have to take kind of a run down and probably play the Sona there himself.
All right, we'll see how it works out for them. Faker is going to lock in that Ahri, making it to the third round of picks. A little bit non-traditional for what we're seeing on most of the games this tournament. We have been seeing a lot of priority on those single, assassin-type mid laners. And of course, for their jungle, it is going to be Vi. So we'll see Bengi on another very powerful ganking jungler once he hits that level 6.
And that is really going to be a tricky thing here, because if we do see Maple go for Kassadin, he's notably weak pre-6. And that's going to be an interesting thing to deal with, because Vi's not the best ganker pre-6. A soul laner should reach the ultimate before a jungler could. But if you do something crazy, Bang gets a really good gank, or he gets a lot of help in the jungle or something, or you force Maple back a couple of times, you might get those Assault and Batteries before Riftwalk, which could completely just demolish that lane.
All right, we'll see how this works out for them, because I distinctly remember the odd one running that jungle Vi against Nuke Duck's Ahri. And that Spirit Rush didn't allow you to get away. It's going to be a similar situation with that Riftwalk. Bengi should be able to just lock on and completely shut down that Kassadin once he hits 6. 3 seconds left to go in this pick and ban, and the Gamma Bears are going to lock in Kassadin and Shyvana. So most likely going to be a top lane Shyvana?
That's my guess here.
That's what my gut's telling me.
Yeah, from what I've been told by other pro top laners, Renekton's actually a good matchup to play as when you're fighting an Elise. You can generally sustain through it. You have pretty good trades as well, and so I don't think they want to fight that matchup. Shyvana, on the other hand, though, has really good one-on-one trading. Shyvana can proxy waves if she wants to as well. And there's still a lot of pushing pressure there that can actually keep impact away from the rest of the team. Honestly, both these top laners, you'll see picks like this the rest of the way through. They're heavy brawlers who want to fight things.
So the SK Telecom team is a lot more traditional from what we've been seeing from the Worlds. These are all picks that have been, trended towards, with the exception of maybe the Nami. I think this may be her first appearance, actually.
He played it once already in the group stage, but only the one time here. So SKT's pretty much got sort of their style of lineup. They've got the easy, safe backline. They've got the ability to dive into fights with Ahri, Nami, Vi, and Renekton. So they've got a bunch of chaos, and then Piglet's just there shooting people in the back lines, relatively safe. It's a good SKT lineup.
Relatively safe. We'll see how well that Shyvana and Elise can get to him. And while the teams are loading into the very first game of this best of 3, let's take a look who you guys at home think is going to win this series. According to LOLesports.com, 72% of you think that SKT will be taking on Najin Black's Sword in the semifinals.
Yeah, and of course the analyst said SKT as well. Honestly, these guys were the favorites to win the whole thing before we ever even saw them play. We're looking at them now. You heard the analysts say how scary they are. Certainly, the SKT lineup is merciless, but I always want to play the underdog story. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. Gamma Bears here are in the exact same position as Taipei Assassins last year. They have to play a Korean team in the quarterfinals. Oh, yeah, that's going to be hilarious, right? Sword's going to demolish them. No. Right? And the entire way through, TPA was the sleeper who kept hitting there. And you know, maybe the Bears are coming out of hibernation.
We'll have to see how well they perform on the Rift. They've already pulled out... That's a sigh from the audience. I like these guys.
That was not applause.
I definitely want to see how this composition is going to work out for them. We have seen a top lane Shyvana once this tournament already. Darian ran it against Fnatic, and I was not particularly impressed by it. You can see we are loading onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, for the third quarterfinal of Worlds. It's the Gamma Bears taking on SK Telecom T1. And we'll see how well this team comp works for them. We talked about how they're a little more difficult to scout, and we're already seeing a composition that we have not seen from them this weekend. All the crowd control is actually mostly coming from their duo lane. You can see that large numbers of SK Telecom are hanging out in and around the river.
Yeah, this is just interesting because you talked about the unscoutability. A lot of these picks are completely new for the Gamania Bears. Those the top laner and mid laner specifically are things that wouldn't have been easily scouted. These are new things they've picked up that SKT is going to have to adapt their bans to as this game goes through. But we're looking at the level 1 setups here, and it's I think, proper deep warding. These are wards that will let these teams know the jungle routes, so that teams will know if they're about to get ganked or if they're safe to push really hard. And those are just important for the first 3 to 4 minutes of the game to know what you can get away with.
Well, we'll see how the teams do decide to settle their lanes. There is a lot of options available to try and shut down your opponent's solo laners if they wanted to go for those lane swaps. But as it stands, we may be having head-to-head matchups as both of these teams just do this warding dance, really. They've got full vision of one another over the last 20 or 30 seconds, and it doesn't look like we're going to have any invades.
No real invades, just for the wards right there. And both these teams got relatively equal information out of this, though SKT's ward in the bottom jungle is a little bit deeper. At the end of the day, it really just means they'll see when they go towards red buff and near the wraiths and whatnot, and it tracks jungle movements. That's what those wards are for. And when you consider how scary jungle Elise is, the fact that you can gank for Zyra with a 0.75 second root, I believe it's a 1.5 second stun off Cocoon, you can kill someone with that kind of damage. So it's important for SKT specifically to know where Wins is going.
Well, we'll see how well it works out for them. You can see Win starting on his blue buff, while Bengi is about to secure his own buff. And we're going to have this straight up 1v1 matchup. You can see Faker already just landing auto attack after auto attack onto that melee carry of Kassadin. We'll see how well Maple can do in this mid lane, because Faker's Ahri has been incredibly good throughout this tournament.
We've already got an inkling of offense, though. You actually saw Bengi running down early on. He didn't actually decide to get anything for that. But the one thing to point out, actually, is that the duo lane for the Gamania Bears is pushing first. They're actually going to have level 2 first. They'll have the ability to trade a little bit more. And dealing with Zyra spawning plants on you, like, forever and ever is very difficult. They're actually going to go in, almost.
A little excited there. It's not landing on Mandu. He's able to sidestep it, but we do see a small CS advantage for NL thanks to that aggressive pushing on this bottom lane, and managed to push the wave up to the tower, so this should reset lane overall. We do see Maple falling behind in the CS in the mid lane, 6-11, but that is to be expected in this matchup.
It is going to happen right here. It's a melee versus range matchup, and Kassadin's forced to last it with spells half the time. And as you've sort of seen, even from Peke's cast and whatnot, you can sit there, as long as you don't die or miss XP, you're pretty much going to do okay as far as a Kassadin lane goes. It's really when you get the tier and the catalyst completed that you sort of turn on. When you hit close to level 13, you really start getting abusive and scary. So that's the lineup we're going to look for here. One thing I want to point out for the Bears, though, is they've hit literally every minion in the bottom lane so far. 19 is perfect for this point.
Well, let's see if they can keep that one up. NL, we talked about him coming into this matchup. He does have that passive CSing style in the laning phase. He likes to farm a lot. During the qualifiers against the likes of the Taipei Snipers, he was actually averaging about 10 CS a minute for the majority of that playoff bracket. So mechanically very strong, and he's on one of his most played AD carries. So pretty good start for them. We'll see if we can secure the kills, though, because that's what's really going to help them get objectives. And we still see the mid lane Maple falling behind on those CS numbers.
One thing I am going to point out, though, as we kind of look through these lanes, though, is that ward control is in favor of the Bears at the bottom lane right here. There's like one ward and a brush, but if this lane ever resets, the Elise from Wins can sneak in and force a gank here. And Nami doesn't escape all that well. They could probably pick her up with Grass Roots in a cocoon.
See if they can manage to land any of that CC. That's what's going to help them pick those kills up. Maple now chugging through his very last potion. As Bengi does once again roam to look for an invade. He's going to run into Wins. The cocoon does land as well as the volatile spiderling. Bengi's going to charge up the Vault Breaker. Does manage to get up, but we see Wins is chasing for this one. He does repel forward. Now there's no Spirit Rush down in the bottom lane. Piglet's now in trouble. He's claims the Ignite. That's a flash ball from NL. A great bubble from ManDu. Throws NL up in the air. NL continues to auto attack down. And we see ManDu force backwards. That's a 2v2 win for the Gamma Bears.
And it's three Summoners belts for three Summoners for three Summoners, but really good trade right there. There's only a flash up for ManDu and a barrier for NL. And now you can see Wins. I like this move by him. He's come to the mid lane to shove it out to allow Maple to run back to base. A fight in the top lane.
Oh, Impact's going to slice out. Does have that dice available. Not going to be needed as now Bengi's coming in from the river. The question is, can he get onto Stake? Stake's caught between a rock and a hard place. He may be able to pick up first, but Impact gets away. That's a flash. Flash for flash. Bengi lands the killing blow, securing for SKT.
Very well played right there by Impact, making sure he didn't take too much damage. And that was the gank we also needed to see coming, was neither of these top laners came in with wards in their opening build, and you saw it capitalized there by Bengi. Well played.
Congratulations to Bengi and Impact there, able to give them even more of a lead up top. Their Stake is already 10 CS behind. Thanks to Wins sort of babysitting that middle lane a little bit, Maple still holds on to that 10 CS deficit, and he's about to hit level 6, and once he's got that Riftwalk available, it's going to be much more difficult to catch him and lock him down.
It looks like he'll hit that level 6 mark in time to survive any of the major ganks, and we'll probably see him be okay. The other thing to point out, though, is that even though that bottom lane should have went well for the Bears, the one thing to point out, actually, is that they both went back to base and got the same items. Both AD carries have Vamp Scepter and Doran's Blade, so the CS lead doesn't mean much yet.
Oh, take a look at this. NL and SwordArt going super aggressive, but now the bubble catches SwordArt out. We do see Piglet not going in for more auto attacks, but thanks to that bubble, they do trade relatively evenly.
And Wins is looking for a counter gank here in this mid lane, expecting Faker to go in, but he won't jump into that minion wave, so this will take a while for anything to pay off for Wins.
Oh, the charm does land though. Maple gets the silence down. Faker still not used that Spirit Rush. They decide to continue fighting. Up in the top lane, Stake is actually doing very well in the 1v1 against Impact. However, it does look like Dragon's Descent was used, so Ultimate's going to be unavailable until he's got all of that Rage built back up.
And Impact still has his, so you're going to have the Dominus back available. But Wins is showing up for the bottom lane. Gets spotted by a Cupcake, though.
Does manage to get caught out. Piglet is going to back away just a little bit. You've seen Bengi. He's hanging out in that bottom lane as well. Assault and Battery is available, so a squishy Zyra or a squishy Varus could be squished into the ground if they decide to go in. Maple, once again, just CSing in this mid lane against Faker. And it does look like Bengi is backing off on the minimap.
Yeah, it looks like nothing's going to really happen here. I do want to point out, though, this top lane you were talking about, because even before the kill, Impact had a pretty large minion kill lead, holds on to a level lead right now as well, and Impact has gone for early magic resist. That's actually most of the damage that Shyvana deals with her burnout, with her flame breath. This is going to be an interesting fight, though.
Oh, we do see Impact. He throws down the Dominus, slices him, just manages to chase Stake back. Stake still trying to build up that fury. Impact now with some minions behind him. I don't think he's going to be confident enough to dive without that Ignite, but got himself a chunk of HP and is going to sustain a little bit in lane thanks to getting that back.
Yeah, absolutely. So Impact's honestly going to probably keep scaling up in this lane. He's just plus a Negatron Cloak right now, has the same other items, so that's probably going to be a point where Wins needs to turn something around, or Impact will be very hard to deal with in these fights. It's something to keep in mind in this game.
Well, Wins, we've seen him moving to that mid lane to help cover off some of those minions. Faker only 10 CS ahead. In the bottom lane, ManDu's now managed to flash away. These do see NL, he's just hit level 6. Chain of Corruption could come out. He's got the mana for it. Decides against it thanks to that massive minion wave in front of him. But PoohManDu's only on a couple hundred hit points. Bengi is waiting in the wings though.
Oh, and they've got the Renekton as well. It's going to be a 3-on-2 in SKT's favor.
That was a great silence onto Bengi, meant the Assault and Battery couldn't come out. Maple tries to get the blue buff, but Bengi is going to smite that one away. Now Bengi charges the Vault Breaker and gets out cleanly. So a good blue buff steal there from SKT.
That was incredibly well played right here. I don't think Gamania Bears can capitalize anything here. Bottom lane is taking more damage.
Oh, Tidal Wave actually gets pulled out. PoohManDu was afraid of the committed attacker from Gamma Bears, and this is going well. You do see NL still 10 CS in the lead. Well, Bengi's going to secure his red buff in the background, but they're trading blow for blow with the exception of that first blood.
And the buff steals, though, start to push yourselves towards SKT. There was actually an early gold lead for Gamania Bears, but even if you subtract the 600 gold lead that SKT has from the First Blood, they actually still hold pretty equally despite the buff steals, despite everything else. I have to say lanes are completely holding on right now. What's going to matter is actually the teamwork, the mid-game rotations, which is the one point we have praised SKT for the entire tournament. If there's one strength that's going to win them the game, it's the core SKT strength.
Well, we'll see if they can make it work for them. As it stands, no pressure has been applied to Dragon, as we do see Bengi moving his way towards this bottom half of the map. Still has not used that Assault and Battery either. Remember that NL is alone in this lane. Here comes Bengi from behind. The bubble doesn't land. The Vault Breaker does. Assault and Battery should be channeled in the not too distant future. In the background, Piglet and ManDu were locked up by the Chain of Corruption, but it was all too easy for Gamma Bears as they secure this, for SKT as they secure the second kill.
And look how coordinated that was. Pink wards all over the river, or towards the bottom lane for the river, for ManDu to make sure that Bengi got to get in there for free without getting spotted. Those are the kind of moves we're going to keep seeing. Bengi has both the kills, keep that in mind, so it's actually on him to do well in the fights as we move forward.
Well, Stake right now does have the option to dive into that Dragon form onto Impact. However, playing it a little bit more passively. Now finally dives in. Dominus has just been popped, so they've traded Ultimate for Ultimate. Impact is going to have much more sustain thanks to that Culver Meek, and we'll see if he jumps on him. For the time being, just using that AoE to at least farm up. A flash away from Stake into Burnout. Decides to back away, a little afraid of Bengi's presence.
Stake, no! Stake, why? Bengi's going to get this
Bengi
one.
comes in, the red buff is busy sticking. Impact throws down the Ignite, plus the damage over time. That's a flashball from Bengi to get the last auto attack, and kill number 3 for SK Telecom.
Very well done. Bengi has all of them. Keep that in mind. In this mid lane, already almost going down. Faker doing a very good job in this matchup as well. You're seeing the game just start pushing more and more and more towards SKT's favor.
Very good charm there onto Wins as well. Gets a lot of additional damage onto that jungle Elise. He's going to be forced to back away. I think the best he can to farm. Does have a 15 CS lead over Bengi, but it's 3 kills down, so there's a pretty big disparity there as far as gold available. Charm goes out once again, connecting with Maple. Maple actually goes in. This may be more than he should have chewed. Flashes out cleanly, afraid of the Assault and Battery, but wasn't available for Bengi to use.
And it's worth pointing out that all the money that's gone into Bengi has been jumped into a very fast Oracles. I feel like he's going to live here. There's a fast Oracles and fast boots mobility, so Bengi will keep finding openings like this, but has no combat stats, which is why you're seeing Wins do so well here.
Well, Wins does a lot of damage, does force Bengi away. Bolt Breaker's out, he does get out cleanly. However, SwordArt is now caught. We do see the bubble lands, Tidal Wave follows as well. NL decides not to use that Chain of Corruption. Now Dragon is still standing, neither team has made a move for it, and as it stands, SKT are just accelerating ahead in the gold values. Already a 3,000 gold lead with only kills and CS on the board.
That's very well done by them, and even though Bengi got forced out of lane, there's just not enough power on the map for the Bears right here. Their dual lanes are basically equal. They traded an ultimate for health, which is rather important in a team fight, and so even on what would be a 4v3, Bears can't go for these kind of moves.
Well, we do see Piglet gets rooted up, takes a lot of damage. The Chain of Corruption doesn't connect. Once again, we see a Varus ultimate miss. I'm sure nobody in the audience has ever seen that before. And SK Telecom managed to get away. However, Gamma Bears have started Dragon.
This is risky. They actually decided to go when Faker left instead of when Bengi left, so the Smite War could happen here.
Now there's no Tidal Wave available. We do see Bengi with Assault and Battery available. Does look like SKT are going to back away from this one, and Gamma Bears hold on to the goal difference as they secure the first Dragon of the game.
That's very, very well done. We actually saw Stake pulling his way down the map partway until they realized SKT weren't looking to really engage in that battle, so Stake went back. But that matchup, these top lane bruisers who are going to keep pushing against each other, you're seeing now a 20 minion kill lead grow for Impact, which is rather valuable. These guys are going to keep throwing their stats at each other, and Impact's going to have more of them.
And as it stands right now, is nearing a 50 CS advantage for Faker in that mid lane. It was even for a very long time, but with Maple's tower going down and the inability to stay in that lane, he has lost significantly more CS, and of course it was picked up by Wins the times he was covering those lanes out. We do see that both Bengi and Faker are moving towards the bottom half of the map, so this could be a 4v3 in favor of SKT.
And they've got pretty good ward coverage. You saw the Oracles, the pink ward's already used. They're going to be able to go into this one without getting spotted.
Well, Wins is going to be around to counter gank and see if they can manage to pick up a kill before SKT get the numbers advantage. We talked about how Shyvana could do that sort of lane cutting. As it stands, impact on Renekton is going behind the tower. Wins, throws himself at Piglet. Chain of Corruption is not available. That looked like a flash forward. No, it wasn't. It was just a move there. Tidal Wave is going to slow all of the Gamma Bears. And SKT managed to get out with just the use of that Tidal Wave.
And as tacked for going to the bottom lane, the blue buff has once again been stolen here by Bengi. Really good read there by the Vi player. And we've noticed now that Maple has not gotten a blue buff all game and is falling behind now 50 minions away from Faker.
I don't think Faker has missed one of those charms yet. Every time we look at him applying damage to these mid lane towers, he's catching Maple out. He's catching Wins out. We'll have to see if it does result in kills. A 3-man Gamma Bears is now hammering away on this bottom tower. However, they're a little nervous about their HP bars and they back away. Piglet now with the CS advantage against NL. All of that early aggression hasn't worked out in Gamma Bears' favor.
It really hasn't for these guys, unfortunately. The minion leads you're seeing grow and grow every single lane. The levels going up for them. And Bengi, of course, standing on pink wards, wearing an Oracles. Maple will not see this coming either.
Well, we'll wait for the Assault and Battery. Is going to follow in. Here comes Faker. Maple tries to get away. He is going to get taken down. And that Assault and Battery just locking up Cassidy for too long. Not even he could escape it.
Well played by Faker. He saved the charm until it was guaranteed. They knew their first attacks were going to miss thanks to Rift Walk. But once he has Assault and Battery, just one more push forward by Ahri, and they're going to have the lockdown. Well-executed gank. And honestly, this can just keep happening over and over again against Maple.
SKT now approaching the 4,000 gold lead. They have 2 towers in their back pockets. They didn't secure the first dragon. I'm sure they'll be willing to fight for the next one as their power spike is a little bit higher. We see that Maple is sort of rushing that Rod of Ages right now. Decided to forego the likes of a TL or even a Chalice, as I've seen some Cassidans build. But we'll have to keep our eyes on his itemization and see how it works out. NL forced back by the auto attacks of Piglets.
And it's going to keep happening here, honestly. You're now starting to see the individual skill really stack up for SKT, and they're just controlling the game. And the thing is, they've never been the most hyper-aggressive team. They don't dive a lot. They'll gank you on your turn if it's there. Yeah.
He does manage to cleanse out of that Chain of Corruption, and the rest of Gamma Bears, it was a bit of a half-hearted gank, but the chain did connect, and it did get the Summoner spell.
Yeah, so SKT, honestly, they're happy to play the control game. An aggressive control game, to be fair, well, they'll take anything that's there for them, but you've seen from the buff steals, from the turrets going down now, 2 of them so far, it's just going to be controlled aggression, rolling over the map here for SKT. For the Bears, they've got to learn how to actually make some plays. They've got Catalyst on Cassidy. He's spiked up. They can use him.
Oh, we do see a root now lands onto Piglet. There's no chain available. A very good tidal wave from PoohManDu. He actually exhausts SwordArt though. NL throws out the piercing arrow, does not connect as now Piglet throws out his Piltover Peacemaker. Ace in the hole, his channel doesn't secure a kill. Now Bengi comes in from the side. Repel lands onto Piglet, gets caught in the bubble. Piglet is still alive. Faker comes from the background. They've killed 80 carry for 80 carriers. Now PoohManDu is the next target. We do see Wins getting dropped by Bengi as Maple is chasing forward. He's got 1. Ignite may get number 2. Assault and Battery plus the tower and the shield is not going to be enough to save Bengi as a double kill is secured for Maple.
That was very, very good because that was the shutdown gold as well onto Bengi. So Maple just got massive. This is going to be a fun game for Cassidy. Look at this fight. So good barrier by NL keeps him alive. And Wins just has nice low cooldowns. Piglet just gets to be jumped on. Despite an amazing bubble there by PoohManDu, Faker wastes every major cooldown and is now basically out of the fight. He's got to get over a wall with basically 1 dash left. And so he can't reach SwordArt anymore. And Maple just gets to be a Cassidy who's not getting bursted down. Cassidy's actual DPS very, very high, and he gets to take kill after kill after kill.
Well, works in his favor, and now we'll see whether or not he can make it count. His Rod of Ages has just been completed. 2-1-0. He is 90 CS behind Faker right now, which is an incredible amount, and all of SKT's solo lanes are now starting to pull ahead. 177 to 142 for the top laners, 157 to 139 for their 80 carries. So SKT, even though they gave up a couple of kills, they still hold on to about a 5,000 gold lead, and they're still looking very good for the next fights.
And the gold is actually in a lot of really good plays for SKT as well. Impact is up about 1,400 gold over his lane opponent. So you're seeing like he has Spirit Visit versus the makings of a Sunfire Cape. Look at Faker, he's 1,600 gold up despite Maple getting that double kill in the shutdown Muddy. And SKT, look at this. They do it with Baron a lot. They're doing this bait with Dragon to a certain extent, seeing if someone's want to look from the side. Instead, they'll just get free neutral objectives to grow their gold lead.
Yeah, we've talked about how Faker likes to just destroy support when he's on any of the assassins, and SKT pick up an uncontested dragon. Nobody from Gamania Bears was brave enough to move in there. They didn't have any vision in the pit. And I think they were going to be fully aware of SKT's positioning. Stake and Wins now trying to get some damage on this top lane tower, but Impact is going to respond in time and clears the way with a couple of abilities.
And one thing, actually, as I looked down the lineups as well, that I sort of wanted to see from Gamania Bears was actually putting some pressure onto Faker himself, because you look at that minion kill lead, you look at the effect Faker's going to have in this game. And actually, I believe, they never really did much with Elise Caston, who could have jumped in, silenced to prevent a flash, prevent a Spirit Rush away, and chain the cocoon off of it, and then chase down Faker. But now, well, now Faker's got a whole bunch of health. He's level 14. He's got a Negatron Cloak. That option no longer exists, not to mention the fact that MonDu started to pink ward everything. The vision control is now SKT's, and they can start strangling even more of the map.
Yeah, as it stands right now, Wins tried to make some ganks happen with that Elise, and he had presence on the map, but it wasn't enough to secure kills or shut down any of SKT's lanes. You see Bengi, he's roaming up to this top lane. Does have those home guards, boots of mobility. He really wants to be omnipresent on this map and make sure he has an impact everywhere. Piglet, with that Avarice Blade, earning some additional CS and trying to work towards what's going to be that static shift. So that's going to be a lot of, on-hit damage for those first couple of shots.
And actually, as the AD carries have gotten more accustomed to Season 3, I believe it was Doublelift said that he actually likes Static Shift a lot more than Phantom Dancer, because team fights now, you have to be very mobile as an AD carry. You're actually going to stack up that Static Shift charge a lot more in team fights. And so even though Phantom Dancer gives you more stats for your Infinity Edge, you're just going to get more Static Shift procs. And Doublelift, if I get the player right, was saying that's actually worth more overall.
Well, let's see if it works out for Piglet. He's currently 0-1-3, does have a 20 CS advantage over NL and a fair amount of items. It looks like NL's going for what we've become calling the Legolas build, thanks to Crepo. Is of course that Bloodthirster into the likes of a Lost Whisper, and you just start sniping people as a marksman should.
Yeah, you really should there, and honestly, NL's done a very good job of not dying much in fights, and here's going to be interesting. Can Impact survive a 2v1? Yeah, he'll walk away.
He's just going to slice and dice out cleanly, and once again, Gamania Bears trying to make something happen, but not fully invested or fully committing to it. As it stands, Faker is going to Spirit Rush forward. SwordArt is going to be able to survive for the time being. The Ignite not going to shut him down. Now they dive onto Bengi. Bengi gets caught in place by the Chain of Corruption. Tidal Wave will interrupt the Gamania Bears, and the Charm doesn't land. That's a great pickup for the Taiwanese champs.
That's a really good fight for these guys, and they've pretty much all got health bars here. They've got enough to keep pushing forwards. Wins has an Oracle as well. With this 5v4, with pretty much no important ultis available for SKT, Gamania Bears could start taking over the map and get some ward coverage back here.
Well, we'll see. As it stands, SKT not necessarily too afraid. Another good charm catches on to Wins, and an Orb of Deception melts his HP bar. But now, Gamania Bears are stacked up as 5. There's no chain or Stranglethorns. Maple's gone in. That's very brave. He flashes out instantly. Now Impact with Dominus. He's just diving the back line. Gamania Bears can't deal with that immensely tanky Renekton. Ace in the Hole is available for Channel, and that's a 4v5 that SKT won.
Yeah, that was really well played by Impact specifically. 2 completed items there, just sat in the front line, taking damage while zoning out the back line himself, and didn't allow any counterattack. There was an exhaust used by MonDu, but way more spent by the Bears, and you could just tell SKT are a stronger team right now.
Well, Bengi right now is going to at least take out a bunch of those minions in the mid lane. Stake and Maple doing the best they can to hold onto this top inner turret. There is some decent AoE wave clear, but Stake's going to get into basically spellcast range of SKT, and he takes a lot of damage for doing it. NL defending this mid lane off. This SKT hold on to a 6,000 gold lead and look to set up some more vision control in the jungle of the Gamania Bears.
Well, let's see if they can do it. I mean, honestly, SKT, this is their hallmark thing. This is the thing that makes SKT win games, is the fact that they just control vision so much. And I expect them to start doing this around Baron now. As items get completed, as their front line is tankier, you're going to see them be able to bait the Bears into trying to take Dragon, or trying to stop Baron, I should say, and getting caught. That's the likely play producing for SKT.
Well, we'll see how many vision wards they manage to pick up for themselves. You see that Lost Whisper getting closer to being completed for NL. Zeal is the word I'm looking for in the back pocket of Piglet, as well as a pickaxe. And we see Faker, he's got himself a Negatron Cloak as well as that BF Sword to go along with his Deathfire Grasp. So He was almost able to take out SwordArt on their last rotation, but the charm didn't land. So SwordArt was able to flash to safety, and that's really what allowed the Gamma Bears to pick up that frag onto Bengi. You know, SKT, they stayed overextended. They were split up by the Stranglethorns. It was something that Gamma Bears will have to try to repeat in these coming fights.
But here we go. There's the ward control. There's all the sweeps over on Baron. And let's see which option SKT goes for. They're going to hide in one of these brushes, and Gamania Bears has to do something to know what's going on.
The death bush has been created. They're now hiding around the corner. Stake is pretty tanky. Almost finished that Spirit Massage. Has a Sunfire Cape. And we'll see how well Gamma can handle this.
Oh, Wins! Goodbye!
Wins is just taken out, blown away by Faker's Ari. And that's going to allow SKT to secure this blue buff. There's no smite available, so we'll have to see if they want to go for what's going to be a pretty safe Baron.
Yeah, there's no jungler. There's no smite steal even possible. None of these champions have individual spike abilities either. The thing is, SKT can always bait for another kill, but Gamania Bears has to realize they can't stop Baron. They should just go for a turret or something instead.
Well, we'll see what they decide to do. As it stands, they are once again grouped up as a 4-man, moving closer and closer. ManDu, can he land the bubble? Aqua Prism's being charged. He doesn't manage to connect in the background. Stake is still alive. Dragon's Descent out. That's a great Stranglethorns. Will at least interrupt SK Telecom. Bengi's the first victim of the fight, but it's soon going to be much more of the Gamma Bears down. That's a double kill for Impact as he continues to chase down. Another kill for Faker, and everybody but Wins is dead.
Yeah, Wins is stuck in the base anyway. He's just coming out right now. It's a 4-for-1 battle, and you face-checked into a team with all their abilities up, and even with a Zyra ulti, there is just so much chase potential. Bengi sacrificing his life to lock down the back line. And what do you know? Faker landed a bunch of great charms, guaranteed the kills here. And now with 15 seconds, SKT can get an inhibitor and back to base.
Going to be able to secure this tower. They're going to bash away on this inhibitor. Piglet in the background has lost a little bit of HP. They decide to play it safe. The death timers are still fairly short. You can see all Gammas respawning. Here's a replay.
Yeah, so they do then the charm onto Stake, deal a bunch of damage, get him out of the fight. That tidal wave hits everybody on the Bears, and it's just easy damage onto the back line. You can see how well SKT are able to chase down that max range charm on Maple. Was pretty important to make sure they got those last few kills, but that's what these guys can do. It's a very, very mechanically proficient team who set up that fight perfectly.
Yeah, Faker does not miss those charms when they count. Manages to secure yet more kills. He's 3-0-4 as his Deathfire Grass completed. Now, the Gamma Bears are stacked up in this mid lane. NL is trying to apply damage on the tower. They've brought Faker out. They are going to jump in. We do see Wins is the one that secures the killing blow. Now ManDu's the next target. They have not taken the tower out, as now we see that Piglet has come to defend. He does have red buff on, and he's putting a lot of hurt down as he's built up. The silence goes out. He instantly claims it away. Bengi's on the retreat. Piglet's on the retreat, and the Gamma Bears are holding strong 5v3. Here comes Impact. Dominus is ticking. He's taking on 5 members of the Gamma Bears, and they don't have the bite. Ace in the hole, threading the needle. Tidal wave comes down, and the Gamma Bears are drowning under the pressure of SK Telecom. Impact is still alive. He's been tanking up the Bears for 3 full minutes, and Impact finally backs away. 2 kills on the board for SKT.
That becomes a 2-for-2 fight despite the free kill onto Faker, which was an excellent play to be completely fair, but that's what happened when Impact is huge. SKT said it would be on him to be important. Yeah, they said it. Their top lane is going to be important for this matchup. Just watch Impact here. Dives in to get the reset and jumps on the AD carry, kills him for free, kites out some of the damage, makes sure no one can jump back in. He is basically single-handedly removing the back line of Gamania Bears.
SK Telecom secure the Dragon as well on their way out. They're now 6 kills ahead, 10,000 gold, and have yet to lose a turret right now, defending all of their outer turrets. And Gamma Bears, they found a good pick, but maybe just stuck around a little too long in that mid lane. They're now falling even further behind. We do see that Piglet's got himself those Quira boots completed, and he's also working towards his last Whisper.
The Gamma Bears needed to really choose one, because once they were all in, Impact wasn't in that fight yet, and they had time for a 5v4. The exhaust was used early on Maple before he cast any spells, and he didn't have to lose any damage by doing that. They get the catch on the Bengi, but Bengi's really big.
Yeah, there's a lot of tankiness there. He does have his locket available. Stake does get caught out by that Aqua Prism, but the first tower falls. Gamma Bears clawing back some of their gold difference.
They're going to try. Honestly, getting some of these turrets is really nice, and a lot of that I think they were relying on Stake's Shyvana, who is hard to chase. She has a movement speed buff, she can jump really, really far in Dragon form, but because Impact has won the 1v1 so well, because Faker is so huge, any one of those guys can just stop Stake's pushing whenever, and that's actually removing a lot of what would have been the Bears mid lane pressure, is they don't have a real split pusher. It's not teleport Kassadin, it's ignite Kassadin. So no one gets to do anything by themselves here for the Bears.
As it stands right now, SKT, they played the Baron game a couple minutes ago. It worked out in their favor, winning 2 team fights back-to-back. Now they are a little bit split up. In actual fact, though, Gamma Bears may be the ones that are in trouble. Dominus has been used by Impact. He's dove in. He's between 4. We'll see how much damage he can put down. The Stranglethorns is up. Instantly deleted is SwordArt, and Stake forced to retreat. They have fought Faker, though. They've traded mid laner for support. The Gamma Bears are not doing badly as Maple is retreating over on the background. But look at that Aqua Prison. That locks up NL. They managed to secure the kill. Impact and PoohManDu are chasing. Vaultbreaker catches, wins. Now he's the next target is Piglet. It's going to 90 caliber over the wall. Doesn't get sight for Ace in the hole, but they trade 1 for 2.
That was a very, very good team fight, once again by SKT. You had Impact on one side, and it's like, well, we either run into the other team and Impact flanks our backline, or we run into Impact and we just don't kill him. So SKT got a surround there. They got a very good Nami ult as well, and they're rewarded with, honestly, this is not a contestable Baron.
Well, Stake is sticking around. Does look like he has his ultimate available. We'll see if he decides to dive in. Piglet is zoning Stake out. Burnout is ticking. Now Stake, once again, not taking as much damage from Piglet as we thought. They've actually backed away. PoohManDu doesn't land the prison, and they were able to at least interrupt that Baron. So well played by Gamma Bears, and more importantly, Stake. That was well done.
I don't know why Piglet was the one to defend the guy jumping in, because he has the highest single target DPS on that team. Any other person could have been able to spot who was coming in and still allow the damage to come through, because still, Wins was far away from that fight. But regardless, good job by Bears to hold on. They've managed to not give any other leads to SKT. But what I have to ask, though, is who's actually going to get rid of Impact in these fights? He's a 5/0/5 Renekton, 320 minions in 31 minutes, and no one's been able to kill him so far, and I think it's pretty unlikely that no one but the Fountain Laser ever does in this game.
I completely agree with that. He's only got himself a Randion's Omen, a Spirit Visage, a Sunfire Cape, and a Hex Drinker. I don't think he has enough items right now, and as it stands, there's nobody from Gamma that can deal with him. We'll see whether or not Gamma Bears can find more of those picks. They've had some success in it, but they are still 10,000 gold down.
And that's the unfortunate side effect of the Legolas build, is you never get the Infinity Edge for a very long time, which is a really core and very key damage multiplier for single target damage output. Anyone but Impact, great. He's going to snipe them. His Qs will deal 600 damage or so. He even has a static shift burst to follow up. That's all wonderful, but you can't burst a Renekton. And this is part of the reason Impact is getting untouched in these fights.
Well, we'll see how well it works out for them. Once again, Gamma Bears are stacking up in this mid lane. Stake and Impact, they were going toe-to-toe for a while. But you see now Impact has dived in. Dominus is channeling. Stake still yet to use Dragon's Descent. Tidal Wave comes in from the background. Does manage to catch 2. SwordArt and NL in trouble. That was a good Stranglethorns, but NL is down. That's a lot of Gamma Bears damage. Removed Wins is going to be the second kill of the fighters. Now they turn onto SwordArt. That's going to be a triple kill for Piglet. If they can get some CC onto Maple, he'll be in trouble. And we do see him actually flashing forward, but Maple was able to get away. We did see Stake going down in the background, but this is an exposed inhibitor that SKT will secure.
This is going to be a very, very easy one for these guys. And if they want, they really could go for Baron afterwards. The inhibitor goes down. They say,
they're going
we've
for the
got
finish.
minions instead. They might be able to get this.
There are minions pouring in from behind them. They land the charm. Maple is down. SK Telecom all of a sudden decide to win a team fight, decide to close the game out, and the Gamma Bears are going to drop 0-1 in this best-of-3 series.
This is a 33-minute game, and SKT are one Nexus away for being one of the top 4 teams in the World Championship here for Season 3. A team that got thrown together just a few months ago, and they're already poised to take the entire world.
SK Telecom playing slower, and I think feeling out their opponents, the Gamma Bears, as it stood in those lanes. Didn't see too many aggressive moves, and we actually seen NL and SwordArt doing very well against Piglet and PoohManDu, but just couldn't build the lead for the Gamma Bears.
Yeah, and that's just the sort of they didn't get the option to make a lot of plays. The run for Dragon was very smart. It was well timed. They had pushed the mid laner out and knew that with the core damage dealer gone in the mid game, then great, they can go take a global objective. And the actual laning mechanics were pretty good for the Bears. Okay, there was a gank without a ward. That was a little bit rough. Eventually, the bottom lane turnaround, that was a little bit rough. But there was a pretty good early game for the Bears. They just couldn't find more things to do, which was a big weakness.
Yeah, I definitely think that Wins is going to need to make those ganks work, because I feel like he tried about 4, 5, 6 times during the early stages of the game, but just didn't really get anything, impactful or meaningful. We're going to throw this one over to Riv and the gang for a breakdown of SKT's Game 1 win.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. And as the players alike start talking about what happened in the game, we as well are going to start discussing it a little bit here on the analyst desk. And right out of Champion Select, as usual, we kind of see some different things. Jarvan being left open, but the Vi pick up there. Piglet getting his AD carry in the bottom lane. But most of all, Gamma trying to show a little bit something new as well.
I mean, to break down picks and bans a little bit, coming into today, I didn't know whether T1 would be trying to maybe create some fear in other teams by picking out, maybe using some more different champions. But this is SK Telecom through and through. Nami, Caitlyn, their bread and butter lane. The team has about a 90% win rate when they use those champions. We have the Vi, which we saw Bengi bringing out in the Champions Summer Final. And, of course, Ahri for Faker and Renekton up in top lane. So it's pretty much as standard as you'd expect from this team. What was really confusing to me was Gamma Bears banning out Aatrox.
Right.
Now, we did see SKT1 play Aatrox against Gaming Gear in groups, but that was the first time a professional Korean team has ever played that champion. So
maybe the last time?
Maybe the last time, too.
Ban that out.
It did confuse me somewhat as to why that was such a high priority
and that
ban.
victory with Aatrox was actually against the Gaming Gear. Not to take anything away from it, but obviously they almost got in their head a little bit with the homework that they did. It was almost a ban that they put to the wayside.
Yeah, it was strange.
And one thing I want to point out about Gamma Bears is that NL and SwordArt actually did really well in lane. They almost killed Piglet. He lived with like 10 HP, and they had like 15 to 20 CS throughout lane phase until they made a misstep, got 3v1 dove by the Vi when the Zyra wasn't there. And another thing that really caught me as a surprise was the fact that Piglet and PoohManDu consistently got chunked or caught as the teamfight would start. And that's actually why Cassidy was almost in that game. He got 2 kills, but he was so far down in lane. He was like 80 CS down from Faker because Faker's a god.
I mean, coming into that too, usually when we see that Nami Caitlyn lane, they 2v1 it. And so I guess I was a bit confused. You want to use that lane because of Caitlyn's range and the power-up from Tidecaller's Blessing. You can really chunk a solo laner hard and take that turret very quickly. So I was not too thrilled seeing the 2v2 matchup, but I guess SK Telecom felt pretty confident. But I think NL and SwordArt did a great job in lane.
I pretty much agree there. I think a 2v1 would have been more optimal for them. While this is the bread and butter SKT comp, I don't feel like Gamma Bears was outpicked at all. I think they had the means to deal with SKT1, and there were a few holes left in strategy-wise by SKT1. The Gamma Bears, if they executed what they did a little more mechanically correct, then they actually had a chance at winning this, because against this team, Cassidy can snowball pretty hard.
And this is the second time that I've seen Shyvana top this tournament, the first one being Darien. And I'm really not sold on it because the first time he played it with TF, I don't see synergy there. And this time he played it with Cassidy. I see no synergy between Shyvana and Cassidy. I feel like the old Ori-Shyvana combo is really strong, or potentially just like, I don't know, I just don't see...
Something else that brings crowd control.
Yeah, exactly.
He could have become like an unkillable monster at one point, though. That's what Shyvana does. It's really hard to deal with once he ramps up and has a lot of base damage. Problem was he got caught in lane. He actually flashed out, walked back in, and the jungle got him, which he should have known. With the aggression coming out from the enemy top laner, he should have known that he was probably getting ganked.
Yeah, let's steer this towards the jungle, because I want to talk about Bengi here.
Yeah.
He really performed very well. He got that first blood in the top lane, and when you get a first blood as a jungler, you just feel like you won the jackpot, because usually you're a very poor, a poor man on the team. But Bengi really put his money to interesting use here. He rushed home guards, upgraded into mobility boots, and bought an Oracles on top of that. So that's 0 combat stats. It's all about him making that first blood money be felt across the entire map by Gamma Bears. He uses the mobility boots to go clear out all the vision, and then he uses that information that he now has to gank lanes where there's no possible way for a counter gank. And that's all that Vi needs. As long as Vi can get off her ultimate into a vault breaker, that's the most CC that anyone in any of those lanes needs to take out a kill when they have the man advantage.
Now, that came back to haunt them a little bit because when they were doing turret dives with
kind of
Vi,
squishy.
later on, he wasn't exactly holding up because we were looking up that it's like, that's a 1475 gold investment in your shoes.
Plus an plus an oracle's on top.
Yeah,
so
and the
even
pink
more.
wards he was buying as well. So
It actually reminds me a lot of Season 2 where you'd see a lot of those Alistars roaming around with mobility boots. Although an Alistar would have his ulti to make the dives a little easier. I don't really agree with the investment. I think if Vi can still manage, especially with vault breaking over walls, can still manage to find paths not warded, or just 1 or 2 pink wards could suffice. I think, as Mondi said, that amount of gold on just your shoes is a little bit too much.
I like to see this difference in jungling styles, because like coming from NA where everyone's just trying to imitate Meteos, this like Bengi will give away every one of his blues. He'll buy these kind of supportish items like oracles, and he'll go back to like Season 2 throwback. But you know, in NA, the jungler takes the blue, the jungler buys selfish items, takes your CS. Bengi didn't like take any lane CS really.
All right, we'll see if they can do what they can do in those lanes. We got to take a quick break right now, but when we return, it is Game 2 between SKT and the Gamma Bears. But first, is it better to win your way out of group stage or get a bye directly into the quarterfinals? So far, the results have been mixed, and so are the opinions of tonight's competitors.
제가 생각하기에는 좀 분석보다는 게임을 많이 하는 쪽이 좀 더 유리한 것 같아요. 왜냐하면 뭐 저희가 좀 자만했었던 것도 있고 그런 것 때문에 좀 경기를 하면서 그런 것도 좀 이제 풀어 나갔고 그렇기 때문에 좀 경기를 좀 더 많이 하는 게 좋지 않을까.
而且我们毕竟是还没开始打，他们还没看我们比赛，而且基本上我觉得我们队伍资料应该算比较少，因为毕竟我们是算干实力比较少时间队伍，所以我觉得这是我们有利的地方。
我觉得应该我们比较占有一点小优势吧，因为毕竟我们来得早，然后我们的调整时差方面的状态肯定也比他们调整的好一点。
我觉得一半一半吧，他们能打这么多局，手会很热，就很有那个比赛的状态。但是我们就能分析他们最新的录像，他们不知道我们最近玩了什么新阵容，我们肯定会跟以前不一样，但是他们的新阵容我们已经看到了。头发我大概留了半年了吧，自然卷，所以长长就会变这样。台湾的观众都觉得很可爱。
I love that little introduction. Stake's hair is even better than Charu's hair from CS.
It's true.
And welcome back to the League
Who
of
is the number? I don't know what comes through here because Ahri, I think, is still a big pick for Maple so that he can start making moves in the mid game. And Thresh is huge because if you give that SwordArt NL lane Thresh, you can actually have them start winning the lane with kills and not just a little bit of CS.
Well, we'll see how it works out because as it stands, Ahri and Zed are still available. And I think what SKT are doing with that Renekton ban is saying, well, you can only ban one of those and we'll probably lock in the other one. So we'll see how this first couple of picks goes, Renekton being that final ban from SKT.
Oh, it is going to be the Zed, and actually the Shen comes through here. Now, this is actually interesting because every game in the group stage, when SKT had first pick, they would insta-lock Ahri. If it was available, it was always Ahri here. So the Shen coming through, plus the Renekton ban actually is really smart because they said, all right, now you have to really give us one of these champions as well. Ahri, it's interesting that we see Elise here. Now, Thresh is not the most common pick for PoohManDu. SKT's let that come through the group stage a number of times, but he's still run the champion before. And like I keep hyping up SwordArt here, but I really think that Thresh is an important pick here that has to be dealt with.
Well, neither of these champions have been locked in just yet. For the Gamma Bears, Ahri was one of Maple's most played champions in the mid lane, and they do actually secure it. So with that Ahri and the Elise, we know that wins in Maple most likely going to be on very comfortable, mobile, assassin-y type champions. And we'll see who else they round out the composition with as far as that tankiness is concerned.
And here's Bengi on the Lee Sin as well, which is just such a good pick for him. Bengi's so mechanically good, and putting someone like that on Lee Sin lets him make a whole heck of a lot of plays. And this is now SKT's team, is they are able to just make plays. Anyone who gets a pick can get a Channel. Everyone who gets a pick can set up someone else for a kill. These guys have a lot of long-range engage potential here. So this is still SKT picking a very Arcel's team comp. And I'm going to have to guess that's Support Annie here.
That would be my first guess as well. And I know that Support Annie is something we've actually discussed at length over on the analyst desk. And, you know, Crepo is leaning more towards disliking it and can see the strengths that it offers. But we'll have to see how well SwordArt can make this work. Because as it stands, Piglet's considering playing Ezreal. And, you know, if Ezreal can just arcane shift away while the stun is in air or before Topaz lands, it's going to be difficult to be impactful in that lane.
That's generally going to be incredibly difficult to do, though. It's really hard for you to reflex an Incinerate or a Tibbers. If you stun with Q, then yeah, it's like a free arcane shift and it's no big problem. But generally speaking, it'll be hard to dodge Annie's stuns without seeing it coming. But what I'm curious to see, though, is the analysis on Support Annie is that you want a 2v1 mid, but Ahri's not the best like side lane 1v2 champion.
And not only that, but Faker is going to be playing Lissandra here for, I believe, the first time at the World Championship. So going to be very interested to see how this SKT composition plays out. I kind of feel like they're lacking a little bit in the damage side of things. That Ezreal and Lissandra, don't get me wrong, they deal damage, but it's not a Ahri, Elise, Annie, Varus, and probably, you know, Rumble if they add that as well.
This is a nice comp here, I think, more for Gamania Bears right now, especially with the Rumble lock-in. That is a champion that we have seen Stake play before. And honestly, the last time I saw this comp from them, it had Varus, but it was Orianna in the mid lane. And Orianna's still available, but they said, you know what, Annie's going to bring enough area of crowd control down. We'll be able to run Ahri some like low crowd control and still make the Rumble work. And I like this Bears comp in terms of team fighting. I think they have the playmaking they need in the mid game for Maple, which was their weakness last time. Maple and Wins together can make a lot of things happen, and then they can run it all together for a team fight. Whereas, as you mentioned for SKT, you're right, their damage is pretty low. These guys, I think, are going to need an early game lead in order to keep winning team fights.
They do have an immense ability to control the team fights, though. With that Shen being ever present, with Lissandra's ridiculous amount of utility, that's definitely going to play into their favor. So the game is loading up. There is about 20 seconds left on the clock before we get into this one. And, you know, it's all in the line here for the Gamma Bears. They were the underdogs coming into this matchup, and you have to give props for the very early stages of the game. But Wins needs to make his ganks count in this one in order to help snowball Gamma Bears and get them, you know, pushing forward proactively.
And it's going to be, I think a lot of this does rest on the early game overall. And just sort of to point something out for fun, SwordArt's Runes and Masteries, 21 offense on Support Annie, AP Quince, dude wants to do a bunch of damage to you early on, but that's what it's going to be on because he has, you know, no movement speed, no gold generation. He's going to go broke or kill a bunch of things. It's going to be one of those two options, though.
Yeah, go big or go home. And that's literally what's going to happen. They either go big in this game and force the decider, or they literally pack the bags and fly back, as this could be the end of the Gamma Bears tournament. We'll be loading up in just a second. And the one thing that I'm a little nervous about is that 4 out of the 5 members of the Gamma Bears are ability power or magic-based damage. So if SKT can prioritize some of those Spirit Visages, Banshees, Veils, it's going to be very, very difficult for the rest of the team that's not NL to clean up fights.
And that's an important thing that you point out here, actually, because you've got a top lane Shen, remember. You've got Impact here, who gets to go first item Spirit Visage, have 20% cooldown reduction on his Stand United, and keep showing up to keep making plays for these guys. So here we are into the Rift, Game 2.
So, Game 2 loaded up. This time around, SK Telecom are wearing the blue trunks. And, of course, the Gamma Bears are in the red. We'll have to see how well they can take charge of this matchup. I do prefer the damage options for Gamma, but if they are unable to kill through the shields of Lee Sin and Shen and the invulnerability of Lissandra, you can have all the damage in the world if you can't make it all stick to the right targets.
I'll see if they can land enough crowd control together here, Gamma Bears. The early battle line's drawn. No big deal.
I think Wins through the spider the opposite direction to throw SKT off. Yeah. Because I was like, the thing's going the wrong way, dude. All right, now Gamma Bears backing away from the river. SKT, they've got a little bit of a ward over by the red buff side, and this spiderling does manage to find SKT out. So they'll be aware of their positioning as Gamma Bears, once again with a more of a defensive start here.
Yeah, so this little piglet's going to go back into his own jungle. Nope. Maybe? Okay, he is. Oh, I got it right. And here actually is going to be the lane matchup situation, because I feel like Varus Annie has so much poke and the ability to turn around and all in from Thresh that life's going to get difficult for the SKT duo lane. Notice that the Bears are already set up here to be in lane. They're already prepared to do all kinds of funky things, right? Early pink ward on the tri-brush. They're trying to come into this unspotted. Oh, that blind hook.
But we do see SwordArt has his stun available, and you see there PoohManDu realized he did not want none of that. Does manage to back away, but position revealed, and I think Gamania Bears a little bit of early vision on that side of the map. Impact and Bengi now going to start off on the blue side. Well, it looks like Wins may actually be soloing their red buff. Actually, he's got the help of Stake, so they're both starting on the top half of the map.
And that's interesting because neither team got deep enough wards to know where people were starting. Anytime you start the jungle with only your top laner, you risk getting invaded, you risk bad things happening to you, and neither side capitalized on that. They both got away with the risk. There's a battle on PoohManDu early on!
Oh, they've got him out. Ignite is ticking. NL decides not to flash for this one. Flash and barrier available, but that's a lot of damage, and PoohManDu is eating through his consumables.
He's going to have to chug a lot of those, but honestly, he started out with just potions and wards, and Mandu will be back to full health pretty soon. SwordArt's going to run low on mana while charging up the stun.
Ignite was burned by SwordArt's Annie rather. So not going to have that available if they decide to jump on PoohManDu and Piglet. As it stands, once again, NL and SwordArt with the early lane control thanks to that trade. NL doing the best he can to pull ahead as far as the CS.
And what I'm going to sort of watch as well is how much of that CS goes to SwordArt in order to get those mana-less costs. But look at that, the early pink ward allows Wins to get through. Bengi knows this is already poised to counter gank.
Well, we'll see how well these ganks work. Wins unable to secure kills in the previous game, whereas Bengi did get first blood with his jungle Vi. The hook catches NL. PoohManDu goes forward. The flash comes out. Now NL is going to have his barrier available. Does pop it, but it's not going to be enough. In the background, Wins doing the best he can to trade. Now Bengi is sticking to him. Sonic Wave, can it catch? That is the question. It does! He follows up. SwordArt's in trouble, 100 HP. The volatile Spiderling goes down. The cocoon does not connect.
This
Bengi
could be 3.
Gets a safeguard shield. We do see the Sonic Wave gets dodged by the repel. Wins lands down, does get taken out. And that's a 3-for-0 in favor of SKT.
Amazing play by these guys. At the end of it, they donated the kill to Piglet just to give him double buffs and that extra gold. Really nice hook there by Mandu. I'm glad for SKT that they picked the Thresh up early on, because you make plays like that and everyone gets really sad when they start dying.
Well, 2-0-1 on Piglet's Ezreal. He's going to have a massive spike in power as Impact is also building ahead in the CS. Look how cheeky that is. Arcane Shift and Mystic Shot, and then just takes the Lantern out, and Piglet says, what you going to do? I've got red, I've got blue, and he's going to continue piling down the damage onto NL and SwordArt.
My buffs are red, my buffs are blue. When I throw Mystic Shots, I don't have a rhyme.
It was a good attempt nonetheless, as now Maple and Faker
They'll hit you?
are trading damage back and forth here. Maple, 2 CS behind that of Faker's Lissandra. And he's going to have a lot of mobility to deal with the damage that Faker has. Wins on the sideline, no red or buffs available for him. So Faker, as long as he doesn't get caught by too much CC, he can just use that claw to get out clean.
If they're going to go in at all, it'll probably be off of a cannon minion or anytime Faker goes in for one of these last hits. But you just notice how safely Faker's able to play. Wins not having flash, can't go for like a flash cocoon to at least force the summoners out of Faker. There's just no way that Wins gets into range in time. Faker doesn't hug any of those walls.
Well, do you see that Faker's using the range of Lissandra. Going to be throwing out those shards and the splash damage associated. We do see Stake and Impact now continue to farming up, but Stake is half the CS down. Impact Shen already at 37 to Stake's 18. There is a decent wave in front of him, but as it stands, and lane heavily in favor of Impact once again.
And that is actually a massive lead. Rumble can, do okay with just experience and not much gold, but that kind of a lead is going to let Shen, just like last time for Impact, ignore the enemy back line and just tank forever here. This is a ticking time bomb that I don't think the Bears really want to deal with here. This is dangerous.
Well, with that overheat and flame splitter, there's a lot of damage going onto Impact. So if Stake is able to get some assistance from Maple or from Wins, maybe a kill can swing that lane a little bit more in his favor. As it stands, Piglet, with all of that gold he's accrued, is just spamming out, making use of the buffs that he's got in lane, and just trying to maintain control. And Wins basically just farming up lane tax here. He's stuck in this lane for the last sort of minute or so, and he's not really having an impact. He's 10 CS to 24. It's not making ganks. As it stands, Bengi does jump onto Stake. Doesn't have his Dragon's Rage available. You see the shield coming up from Stake. He pops down the Equalizer just to clear out some of the waves and just continue farming, but not entirely convinced that was needed.
That wasn't. He wasn't going to have the damage to turn that fight back around, unfortunately. Wins, yeah, they spawned, bro. You can take those away. So at least that was smart, though. Wins, you can clearly still a good player here by going for the counter jungling, spotting out that Bengi was on that side of the map. But of course, by doing this, Wins ran through a ward himself, and Bengi steals away a big golem. So both these guys happy to steal with vision, and
Now Stake is in trouble. We do see the resonating strike follows through. Stake is burning on the HP. Ignite is ticking down as well. Impact forced to fall backwards, and with the aid of the tower, Stake does survive, but he manages to get out. And you imagine if Equalizer is available there, maybe could have turned that one around. Maybe could have set up some kills. Piglet, now with the buffs worn off, he's pushing away basically with the aid of his minions.
Yeah, but mind you that Stake had already gone back to base one time already, had to go back again just from those ganks right here, and now you're seeing pressure on the bottom side of the map as well. These, unlike last game where the duo lane had a really good early lead and the Bears almost took some kills, the Bears almost took a kill, but they're losing in minion kills pretty rapidly, in addition to all the champion kills. And mind you, Piglet hasn't even had to go back to base just yet, so he's sitting on a mountain of cash right here, 2,100 gold. And you're just going to see Piglet be able to take over the game if he wants to. That damage we were concerned about, he's going to have it.
Yeah, we see right now, NL, with that first recall, he comes back and look at that True Shot Barrage plus every other ability there from Piglet, connecting and dropping him down to half HP. Remember, SwordArt does not have any GP10 on his runes or masteries. He went all in for that ability power, and SwordArt falling further behind. That early game kill potential of the Annie has not been made use of just yet.
And look at the build that even MonDu went for here. Early boosts of speed to help create catches as well. The SKT lineup are going aggressive with this one. Piglet has finally gone back to base for some items, but you're gonna see them keep trying to make plays. Bengi, even without a ton of kill gold, okay, 1 kill and assist, again boost mobility, again trying to make plays. This time though, just a little bit too late for the blue buff.
Well, blue buff was secured there by Maple, so maybe the additional spamming power of that mana and CDR can work in their favor. PoohManDu hanging out on the side. They're trying to set up a death sentence over the wall. Now, there's no vision in that tri-bush there for the Gamma Bears, so they've got to be a little careful as that lane is definitely pushing against the SKT tower, so it's risky for Gamma to be that far up.
It just allows them to recall back, though. I don't think they had a ward that spotted that Bengi had gone there, but generally speaking, they knew that SKT's dual lane hadn't gone back yet, just got the quick shove, which will allow them to equalize items a little bit here, but there's just such an item difference. Instead, though, it's the ward control game now turn on for SKT. It's them saying, all right, mid-game's begun, we're ahead, let's start taking objectives.
Well, we do see that Bengi and PoohManDu are hanging around in the river. They were putting some wards down, and they have started this one off, both of which are level 6. Faker's coming to help out, and Gamma Bears are going to have to start wondering where are our lane opponents, but it doesn't look like anyone is going to be able to get there in time to contest. Dragon number 1 of Game 2 is secured by SKT.
This is a good start for these guys. The Koreans looking poised to 2-0 this match if they can keep it going. You've seen this battle now between Stake and Impact.
Oh, do you see the trades going back and forth? The Equalizer goes out, clears the wave down, and Stake managing to at least hold on to a 10 CS deficit. He forces Stake backwards. There's not really kill potential from either of those champions just yet. Spirit of Visage, Spectre's Cowl picked up there by Impact, working towards that Spirit Visage.
Yeah, and you're going to see Impact not really take damage for the rest of his landing phase. He's got a lot of health sustain, he's got the shield, and of course the cowl as well for the magic resist. So it's going to be a difficult life for Stake, which is okay as Rumble to just sit there and free farm. It just depends on how well he can last it, because here comes Bengi!
Oh, Bengi once again comes in. Dragon's Rage goes backwards. Sonic Wave does connect, follows up with the resonating. One more auto attack. Bengi and Impact just picking up an easy kill onto Stake.
And good job at Bengi disturbing the piece right there. He's not going to let that guy free farm. They're just going to force the issue. Good taunt flash, though, by Impact to set that up. And here's another one in mid with Shen.
Here comes Stand United. Maple is going to do the best he can to get away. Flashes the taunt. Spirit Rush is not available. Will be in a few seconds. Faker follows the Claw of Doom to end Maple's life. Now the Death Sentence connects onto SwordArt. He tries to flash away. True Shot Barrage into Arcane Shifters. Piglet and PoohManDu pick up a kill. And do you see the shield going up? But that's out of tower range. PoohManDu, 210 HP, is able to scare NL away.
Just about a half-second late and actually casting the ultimate that would have been a kill secured right here. And you can just see the harass there you can do. He knows Winds can't kill him off in the minion wave and puts himself in danger just for no good reason. And now Bengi, you're seeing, knowing that the enemy junglers in the mid lane, says, I can steal away the golems. Realizes they actually weren't cleared since last time he countered jungle, and says, fine, I'll go back to base.
Alright, just decides to recall. Gonna go up to those double golems as it stands. You can see him moving on the mini-map. And once again, SKT find themselves 5,000 gold ahead. This time at the 12-minute mark. This match's early game has been significantly more in favor of the Korean powerhouse. And there's no more room for error here if you're a Gamma Bears member. You cannot afford to give away more kills or more gold. Mechanically, they're keeping up fairly even in CS.
Sure.
They just haven't made the plays count.
And that's always been sort of the issue is kind of, I feel like the days are gone of teams that could sit there passively, give up a kill or a dragon once in a while and just say, we'll play for late game. The teams that come back are the teams that actually make plays, create openings, and get some kills back in their favor. But unfortunately, it's Bengi the one who's making all the plays here. Bears are looking for mid. I just don't know.
Oh, that is a flash cocoon. It doesn't manage to land as Maple saves the charm. Does catch it out onto Bengi, but flash burned from Wins there. And actually, nothing really earned. Faker was able to get out. This time around, the death sentence doesn't land. NL is safe for the time being.
And that was just a straight-up dodge. Even though that was probably the right play to try to go for, not only was Bengi already there, but the cocoon missed. Bengi's still running around. Early Sightstone as well for him. So this actually helps Bengi make ganks happen, knowing no counter gank is here, even though they're already ahead in gold.
We do see Bengi continues to roam around the jungle here. We do see that Faker is joining him, so probably just going to wait for this blue buff to spawn up. Or they may be deciding to go for a tower dive. This is going to be a 4v3 in the bottom lane.
This is going to be very successful for SKT. In fact, the turret likely not be enough.
Now we'll see how this works out. There comes the Claw of Doom. They land a massive Glacial Doom, and that's just melted. Double kill for Faker. He does get shut down by the Ignite and the Tippers of SwordArt in the background, and NL, with the aid of the tower, forces PoohManDu to flash. But that was just instant burst in conjunction with that True Shot Barrage.
It's a really, really nice play by these guys. The early steps on helping that one. The dive!
It's not over yet. Piglet and Bengi go forward. NL's the first victim is now Bengi and Piglet turn onto Maple. They carry on chasing. Maple doesn't have Spirit Rush available. Piglet getting the movement speed from the Phage there. Is going to able to sidestep. Mystic Shot doesn't connect. And it does allow SKT to get out cleanly, but another kill on the board onto NL.
Good dive here by SKT overall. I actually like Piglet. He Mystic Shot it, expecting Maple to dodge, but Maple didn't dodge far enough down to make it connect. He actually led his target, though.
Oh, we do see the charm goes out. That doesn't connect. Maple now forced a little bit backwards. Here comes Wins from the side. There's no smite available. He picks up a kill. That's onto Bengi. Now it turns onto PoohManDu. The cocoon slowed him down, and look at that box slow. Immensely powerful and allows PoohManDu to get away. Blue buff has been started, and this will be secured by Maple. So at least another kill on the board, and importantly, blue buff for Maple.
Definitely a good job by the Bears. This is, by the way, I think Maple's first blue buff of the game, or sorry, of the tournament, I believe, in fact. But that's really good there by the Bears, turning around fights. NL surviving the tower dive initially and getting one for it. It was Maple coming back and trying to get another one as the dive continued. The team showing up for the blue buff. The Bears have started to make some actual aggressive moves in terms of looking for fights, but they've got to keep doing this to pull themselves back in. SKT are just going to continue to take ward control, continue to take buffs, and they've got to get punished for it for the Bears to have a chance.
Yeah, 8,000 gold is the difference between the two teams right now. We see Faker returning to this mid lane, 125 CS to the 110 of Maple's Ari. Bengi secures another buff for himself. He's currently 2-1-4. Death Sentence doesn't connect, as we do see Wynn's able to repel over to the red buff and gets out cleanly. But with an Oracles on the back pocket of PoohManDu's Thresh, they're getting real good vision control as you see Piglet and Impact on the top lane.
And I like pointing out what Mandu's done with his build right here. Actually, this could be a fight. It's going to be close.
Ignite is burning. Piglet is going to Arcane Shift away. Impact gets caught up by the Cocoon on the Equalizer. In the mid lane, the Tomb locks up Maple. He Spirit Rushes to the side. We do see in the background, Bengi comes in with the Sonic Wave to pick up the kill. Now, Stake running away as best as he can. He's burning from the Ignite. Wins in the background is going to fall victim as SwordArt is now being jumped on. He does get a stun down, but it's not enough as Piglet and PoohManDu close out on Stake in the top lane, and they stack on the inner turrets.
This is really good for SKT. They're making much more aggressive moves than they were in the game one. This is a much more comfortable SK Telecom. We talked about them being a little bit slow when they first start out series, but it seems that they're such a strong team that starting out slow means they just won't win really fast. This time around, though, this could be interesting.
Such a corruption lance from NL doesn't follow up with anything else. And now the tower falls. That's the third of the game. Faker will be securing this tower if he decides to. In fact, the minions should be able to close this one out as well.
Yeah.
Unless anyone gets here in time. Doesn't look like it. And that's going to be 4 towers to 0 in favor of SK Telecom. 10,000 gold in the lead. And Stand United hasn't even been needed in those previous fights. They're so far ahead. Here's a replay of the mid lane.
So it's going to be Faker making a lot of just early bursts that can't be dodged here. And just the flash W guarantees. Bengi's stealing away, but no big deal. And this is just PoohManDu setting things up. He went boots of speed, but first Impact's getting caught.
So Impact is being chunked down. Stand United was used, in fact. Now we see him. He taunts out over the wall. Feint is up. He's got a couple hundred hit points, 380. Still taking everybody on a walk. Just a matter of time before they close him down as Maple is joining from the side. The thing is, how long do they stand? He's still alive! Sonic Wave comes in. Impact runs! Impact is not dead! Impact gets away from 3 members of Gamma Bears. And now SK Telecom turn it on. The Claw of Doom comes in. They root stake in place. That's a self-cast from Faker to slow down the Gamma Bears. They manage to pick up a kill. It's Impact that closes out wins, and they turn the focus onto the rest of the Gamma Bears. There's a minion wave behind them. We'll see if they stick around for the tower.
And they've certainly got the ability to push if they want to, but some reasonably low health bars says SKT, you know, let's just take the safe objective here. We know that the Bears are stuck in their lane. We'll take a dragon and secure off this. And you're just seeing now how far ahead SKT are. They're warmed up. The Flame Spitter might have helped that happen. And now they're just ready to go.
Such a great pickup there. Second dragon of the game. Now 13,000 gold. And Impact ran away from 4 members of the Gamma Bears. He tanked them up. He even managed to re-engage on that fight and secure the killing blow onto Wins Elise. Wins Elise right now 1-4-1. He's behind on CS. And as we've highlighted, he's been present on the map, but he just hasn't made it count. Not like Bengi, 3-1-6 on that Elise. I believe this will continue his 100% win streak on Lee Sin here at the Worlds.
Definitely the case for these guys. And you're just sort of seeing the high skill level of the SKT members, right? Both of these junglers are skill shot based. Okay, sure, you can jump in there with Repel, you can jump in there with Safeguard, but you still got to land the skill shots to make anything happen. And time and again, Bengi is making the openings, jumping in and kicking someone back, jumping in and diving a turret. Rush's non-combat items still has better record in fights.
Oh, here comes Faker. He has just melted Stake. And that was just a massive burst of damage.
That was just brutal right there. Actually rushing the Deathfire Grasp to give more burst damage out there. Again, accentuating the, damage might be low, so I'll build damage items and destroy you anyway. And SKT just going to continue the siege. I don't think they even need to play the Baron dance. They've got enough damage out of it. They can play a siege game and close it out.
Tower number 5 secured. The rest of SKT group up in this mid lane, and now they turn their attention onto the first inhibitor turret. Even with the charm landing on PoohManDu, the Orb of Deception does not. And SKT are in a commanding position right now. They have minions on the top lane, minions in the mid lane, and it's just a matter of time before they set their sights on one of these towers.
And they're going to look for the mid lane right now, actually. 5 members in there. Charm lands an impact. Might be a fight.
It's not the target you want, though. Tibbers goes down, doesn't catch any of the priority targets. Equalizer goes down, and most of SKT avoid it. PoohManDu is going to be the first victim, as we see Shen unable to land, thanks to the Stand United. Bengi forced to flash over the wall, and SKT caught a little overcommitted. A single kill for Gamma Bears.
But think about what that fight could have been for Gamma Bears if they had actually used their cooldowns on someone who wasn't impacted. That is the single member of SK2 who is actually poised to take that kind of damage. PoohManDu died without Tibbers. He died without a lot of the initial burst from the Gamania Bears lineup. If these guys can actually get a real team fight, I mean, maybe this is overselling their chances here, but we've seen crazier comebacks, and the Bears have a team fight composition. If you've got to hope for the Gamania Bears, you hope for a well-executed 5v5.
Well, we see Piglet actually securing the blue buff this time around. As he has picked that up, he's going to return himself to the jungle, continues farming up those large buffs. Faker once again with a massive CS advantage, 220 to Maple's 133. Numbers are fairly close across the rest of the board, but with so many dragons and towers and global gold down, Gamma Bears are 14,000 gold behind. That's roughly 50% difference there that SKT is ahead, and we'll have to see how they decide to close this one out. Faker now with that Zhonya's Hourglass completed. He not only has the ability to use that Frozen Tomb on himself, he can follow it up with an Hourglass, and it's even more difficult to kill him because of all that additional invulnerability that he has.
And it's much more likely now for Faker to target someone with the ultimate there. He can just chain all his abilities down, basically wait for the cooldowns during the Zhonya's on himself, and basically remove Maple from the fight. Now realize that Maple still hasn't completed his own Deathfire Grasp, whereas Faker has his plus a Zhonya's. Like, let's just highlight how far ahead Faker is right now. A full item, 4,000 gold. Like, there's just such a massive lead here for SKT. They're walking bags of gigantic stats.
Yeah, it's so difficult for Gamma Bears to pull themselves out of this one. We do see Baron has been started. There is a ring of wards around the red buff area here, so SKT will be well aware of any sort of invade. The piercing arrow goes out. Baron down to 6,000 HP. Gamma Bears going to try to engage in this one. They've got no vision though. That's a flash over the wall. Impact does catch him. Look at that massive damage from Impact. The Ring of Frost locks him up for a couple of seconds. Hourglass has not been used yet, as the first victim was Maple. Spirit Rush not even used. Now the Hourglass by Faker keeping him alive. NL does throw down the barrier. In the background, SwordArt Ignite lands down the final tick of damage, but that is a 3 for 1. Gamma Bears get out, but Baron still stands, and it's just more control from SKT.
And look at the decisiveness of SKT. We actually talked about that in their game 2 win over OMG, and they all came over the wall. They all bursted down right away. Maple did not get to do anything. Flash and Spirit Rush still available. Wasn't allowed to do that because Faker just deleted him in that team fight.
Well, there's one thing that we've learned from the 2 games that SKT have played here today, is that they are more than happy to pull you towards Baron. It's the old fake and switch and immediately jump on you. There was no hesitation to hop over that wall. Here's actually a replay of the fight.
So watch Maple here. You ready? The clock comes over, and the flash W into goodbye. Just completely bursted down. You don't get to flash or ult while rooted, so Faker didn't even have to stun his opponent. Smart of him to wait a little bit on that cooldown. The Zhonya's well timed. NL, I like the move there. He flashed, I think, a Q actually from Faker, but unfortunately didn't have anything else to do in that fight.
Couldn't get anywhere far enough away, only sitting on a Bloodthirster. You compare NL's Varus, Bloodthirster, Berserker's Greaves, in comparison to a Hex Drinker, a Cutlass, and a Trinity Force. That is an immense difference here. Piglet going with a slightly different Ezreal build than we've been seeing, but against so much magic damage, that Hex Drinker is probably one of the best items you can pick up.
I do really like that he stopped to pick that one up as well. And he doesn't need Blade of the Ruined King, but it's a strong item, especially when you don't have a lot of other multiplication there, because you can't multiply the proc damage anyway, so screw it, just get the attack speed from the Trinity Force from the passive and just throw damage at them. It's not bad overall, but it just wouldn't be the most efficient. But it tells me also that SKT are likely to play a fairly short game here in their minds. 24 minutes, they're looking at the Baron dance again, and once again they've got ward coverage. They could take it down or they could jump over the wall.
So Stand United is available here for Impact. He's not going to flash taunt this time round. He will piggyback taunt. Bengi is hanging out on the side. Piglet and Faker waiting to find a victim. Who's it going to be? Stake gets booted into the wall. The Claw of Doom goes up, but Faker doesn't follow it up. Bengi is alone on the enemy territory right now. As we see, here comes Stand United. Stake is the first victim of this fight in the background as he gets taken out by Piglet. Now, PoohManDu running interference and bringing the box in place. A decent chain of corruption is going to slow down Bengi, but that's a double kill for Piglet thanks to those Mystic shots. They're going to carry on chasing. SwordArt's going to be the third victim he has. Faker closes it out. Now NL way out of position. That's the third kill of the fight for little Piglet. Now Maple's in trouble. Claw Doom goes out into the Ring of Frost, and that's 3 for Piglet, 2 for Faker. They're on the inhibitor turret. This could be game.
This is very likely to be the 2-0 here for SKT. They started the group stage 7-1. They're looking to end the quarterfinals 2-0. They've got to look forward to a best of 5 against Najin Sword later on in the week. SKT really showing they are taking no prisoners here. Their decisiveness is here. Their decision-making is crisp. And they're playing some very good League of Legends.
Playing this one safe as well. Even with those minions, they don't decide to close it out. Here's a replay of the fight.
Yeah, so they jump in, and I like the decisiveness to actually wait here. They didn't actually just immediately jump in. No one went onto the equalizer. Once it's down, then SKT engages. PoohManDu gets caught out. That's not a big deal because he sets up the rest of the fight, and the front line is able to dive in there, make everything happen in that battle. So I like that they are able to all go in together, but also all wait around a little bit together and not take really silly risks. It's always been a strength of SKT, is they don't really take silly risks.
You've also got to remember the zoning potential of that glacial path that is Lissandra's E, the ability to just roam. And when you see that thing coming at you, you panic. You're like, I don't want Faker or Lissandra to rock up here and lock me down. And Gamma Bears were backing away. As it stands, 20,000 gold difference between the teams. Inhibitor down in the top lane, Inhibitor exposed in the mid lane. It's really just up to SKT to decide to pull the trigger. You have to feel that Gamma Bears will be going down 0-2 here in their quarterfinal matchup.
There's a real good chance that happens here. SKT, I'm trying to think if there's ever a game I've seen them actually lose from having a lead. I think it's pretty uncommon. And here these guys go. They're looking up towards the mid lane. Of course, they've got an exposed inhibitor down there. I don't see why that wouldn't be their point of ingress. And they can sync up the Nexus with the top lane. The Superman is already pushing in.
Stand United and the box will be available very, very shortly as those cooldowns do begin to pop up and become clickable. Right now, SKT, they go onto the inhibitor. They're bashing this one down. The rest of the Gamma Bears are basically hanging around on the sidelines. We do see NL has been caught. He's been kicked backwards. That's NL dead to rights. Now Stake will be the next one to fall. Who gets the kill credit? It's Faker as Piglet picks up his second. Now Wins is getting dropped down as SwordArt in the background is crushed. A clean ace for SKT, and they're going to close this game out. They're on to the Nexus turrets, and SK Telecom T1 will advance to face Najin Black Sword in the semi-finals.
Incredibly well played game by the Korean team, convincing 2-0 victory, warming up over the series, and then taking it home right here. 27 minutes, the Nexus goes down. Piglet didn't even die in that last game. 11-0 on that Ezreal. Gotta hand it to SKT, they definitely deserve this victory.
11-0-10 on Piglet's Ezreal. This is going to be an all-Korean semi-final. Najin Black Sword taking on SK Telecom T1, and that's a matchup that is going to be awesome to watch. But what a controlled performance here from SKT. They started a little slow, they respected their opponents, and once they got that lead, they never let it go.
And I actually have to compliment their champion select here as well, because they ran a bit of a different team. But so I actually want to point out something kind of specific though, because I think it explains how they're able to win the late game so well. Once they were on blue team, they picked a lineup where every single one of them could jump over the wall and participate in the "you're trying to stop us at Baron, oh no, you're not going to" team fight. And the only guy who couldn't easily, which was PoohManDu's Thresh, was the one waiting outside the pit, waiting to hook someone in. This was actually orchestrated. The end game plan was actually orchestrated from champion select. SK2 knew they could fall back on this one to close the game out, and then their decisiveness in those team fights, jumping over and picking things off, was really well done.
Yeah, they just switch it on at a moment's notice. There's no hesitation at all here from SKT when they want to just pull that trigger and take somebody out. And I do not think I have seen a Lissandra burst people down that immensely before. I know I've seen a fair number of Lissandra games. That Deathfire Grasp into the Frozen Tomb, it obliterated Stakes Rumble.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen when you're Faker, when you're that far ahead in your lane. To be honest, I think there's some good players on the Gamma Bears side, but this was definitely an individual skill mismatch, especially in the mid and top lanes. Like we talked about NL and SwordArt being good, and they did very, very, very well against one of the best teams in the world. You've got to compliment these guys for that performance, but Faker just got ahead. One time, okay, he's fighting Cassidy, and Cassidy loses lane. Other time, just obliteration here against Ari, who we see almost all the time. Impact, same.
And it was the same actually in the early stages of the matchup. You know, Faker taking on Maple, they were even for the longest time. And once Faker got ahead, he then just accelerated further. There was no slowdown. You know, once he started getting up to tempo, getting up to pace, I believe he was about 100 CS ahead at around about the 20-minute mark, 21-minute mark, which is a massive number.
And that's what SKT does, both in terms of the mechanics of minion killing, but also in team fighting. Once they say they're confident, once they get ward control, they're going to go after you. They're going to pick up kills and snowball the game.
Well, guys, now we know our first semi-final matchup of the Season 3 World Championship. It is a Korean showdown between SK Telecom T1 and Najin Black Sword.
And remember, if you want to watch those two teams fight it out for a trip to the finals live at the Galen Center, head over to lolesports.com/tickets for details.
All right, let's send it over to Shox, who is hanging out on stage with SKT's jungler, Bengi.
Thank you very much, Freak. First off, congratulations, of course, Bengi. Awesome performance here. You guys didn't have that much time to prepare for this. How were you able to prepare for the Gamma Bears?
뱅기 선수 일단 승리하신 거 축하드리고요. 가마 베어스 상대로 준비할 시간이 길지 않았을 텐데 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요?
일단 연습 도와준 로얄 팀에 고맙다고 전하고 싶고 열심히 준비했어요. 스크림 하면서.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Royal who helped us prepare. We scrimmed against him, and I'd like to thank him. And we prepared hard.
And that showed you went with Vi and then Lee Sin in the second game. How was your matchup against Wins in the jungle?
첫 경기에는 바이로 하셨고 두 번째 경기는 리신을 플레이하셨는데 상대편 정글러인 윈스랑 어떠셨나요?
일단 좀 저를 좀 많이 파악하신 것 같더라고요. 처음에 그 처음에 그 딜교환을 실패해가지고 좀 불리하게 가서 마음이 조급했는데 운 좋게 탑에서 킬을 딸 수 있어서 게임이 쉽게 풀렸던 것 같아요.
I think Wins had a good scouting report on me. He knew me really well. So the first encounter versus him, I kind of messed up. So I felt in a hurry, but I did pretty well in the top lane. So that helped me.
So this means that you guys are going to the semifinal, and there you're meeting a team you know quite well, Najin Black Sword. What's your impression of their current form?
오늘 승리하셔서 이제 4강에 진출하시게 되셨는데 4강에서 이제 본인도 매우 잘하는 나진이랑 붙게 되셨습니다. 그 나진이 지금 현재 그 폼이 어느 정도인가요?
최근에는 스크림을 잘 안 해서 모르겠는데 그 일단 제일 마지막으로 스크림 했을 때는 정말 잘하는 팀이었고 서로를 너무 잘 알아서 걱정이 많이 되는 팀이에요.
Even though we haven't really scrimmed against them recently, the last time we scrimmed against them, they were really good, and we know each other really well. So yeah, they're formidable.
All right, well, thank you very much. Give it up one more time for Bengi and SK Telecom T1. Thank you very much. Looking forward to that semifinal. As for us, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, Riv and the guys at the analyst desk are going to break down SKT's dominant victory. Plus, the Evil Geniuses jungler Snoopy will join us to share his thoughts on Worlds so far. And then, it's time for our second quarterfinal match of the night as China's two tournament teams take to the Rift. It's Royal Club versus OMG. So stick around. The Season 3 World Championship will be right back.